They said love and reason could never coexist. But what if fate decided to prove them wrong? When two rivals collide, intellect against desire, not even gravity can stop the impact. What begins as competition might end in something far more dangerous: feeling. Before the story begins, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on the notification bell to help the channel grow and reach even more people. And don't forget to hype the video. It really boosts the reach. The cold light of the monitor illuminated Robin's face as she adjusted the calculations for the 17th time. 3 in the morning. The coffee beside her had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. Her fingers flew over the keyboard with the precision of someone who had been fluent in the language of numbers and equations since she learned to walk. The lab was silent, except for the constant hum of the servers and the occasional crack of her spine when she stretched in the chair. Robin Meester was 41 years old, held a PhD from MIT, owned 2 revolutionary patents in space propulsion, and had absolutely zero patience for incompetence, or for people in general, especially people who thought money could buy genius. 15 more degrees and you're cosmic dust, she muttered at the screen, adjusting the entry angle. It was simple math. A millimeter off here meant failure by miles up there. But of course no one cares about physics when they've got a pretty PowerPoint. She saved the file and leaned back, running her hands through her brown hair, which probably needed a trim 3 months ago. Her reflection in the black screen of the monitor showed dark circles under her eyes, a coffee-stained Caltech t-shirt, and that expression Skylar always called her resting genius face, a mix of intense focus and thinly veiled disdain for the rest of humanity. Her phone buzzed. A message from Skylar. Still human, or have you merged with the rocket? Robin smiled, a rare enough event to be recorded scientifically, and typed back, human, unfortunately. The reply came instantly. Investor meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow, Robin. That means a shower, clean clothes, and for heaven's sake, pretend you tolerate other humans for 45 minutes. Robin rolled her eyes. The meeting. Carl had insisted it was the opportunity of a lifetime. An investor with enough money to fund not only the prototype, but the next 5 years of testing. Real money. Money that meant her project, her life, could finally leave the paper in the lab and go where it always belonged. Space. But Robin knew investors. Men in expensive suits who couldn't tell a rocket engine from a vacuum cleaner but loved putting their names on plaques and taking credit. Men who wanted to turn science into synergy and market disruption. Men who looked at her as if calculating how much profit they could extract before she realized she was being robbed. Fantastic, she muttered, turning off the monitor. Another billionaire idiot trying to buy a toy. She locked the lab at 3:40 a.m., drove to her minimalist apartment, more of a secondary workstation than a home, and collapsed onto the bed without changing clothes. Before falling asleep, her eyes found the framed photo on her bedside table. She was 10, standing beside her father, both gazing at the night sky through a homemade telescope he'd built from PVC pipes and old eyeglass lenses. One day, Robin, he used to say, you'll put something of yours up there, and the whole world will have to look up and see it. Robin closed her eyes. The world could wait a few more hours. Across town, in the top floor office of a glass and steel skyscraper that practically screamed obscene wealth, Tyson Nixon was bored. Not the ordinary kind of boredom, not the rainy Sunday or waiting in line kind. It was the existential boredom of a 45-year-old man who had achieved everything he wanted before 35 and now spent his days running an empire that practically ran itself. He spun the Italian leather chair and looked out the window. The city stretched beneath him like a glowing chessboard. Tyson owned apartments on 3 continents, a private jet, and access to any table at any restaurant in the world. He had dated actresses, models, heiresses. He had bought companies on a whim and turned them into profit before breakfast. And he was absolutely, profoundly bored. Mr. Nixon? Julie's voice cut through his thoughts. His chief advisor stood at the door, tablet in hand, her expression impeccably professional. The meeting with the aerospace engineer is at 10 a.m. Carl confirmed his presence as mediator. The rocket scientist, Tyson corrected, turning the chair back. Does she have a name? Dr. Robin Meester, PhD from MIT, expert in advanced propulsion. Julie slid the tablet across the desk. 2. Patents, several published papers, and apparently 0 social skills. Carl describes her as brilliant and untamable in equal measure. Tyson picked up the tablet and swiped through the information. The profile photo showed a woman with an intense gaze, no smile, hair tied back carelessly, and an expression that clearly said, "Take the damn picture already. I have work to do." Interesting. How much does she need? He asked, still reading. Full funding for the prototype in 5 years of testing. We're talking at least 80 million. Julie crossed her arms. That's a lot of money for a project that might explode on the launch pad. Or revolutionize the aerospace industry. Tyson handed back the tablet. Carl wouldn't recommend it if it were smoke. Carl also has a weakness for temperamental geniuses. Julie arched a brow. And you have a weakness for impossible challenges. This woman's rejection record reads like a parallel resume. 5 funds backed out on her last year. Because she scared them off or because they didn't understand the project? Both, I presume. Tyson smiled. The kind of smile that made rival CEOs break into a sweat in boardrooms. The smile that hid the fact that he hadn't started as a billionaire. He had started as the mechanic's son who inherited a failing workshop and turned it into an aviation empire through brutal work, calculated risk, and a stubbornness that rivaled gravity itself. So she's smart and doesn't bow to men in suits. He stood, adjusting his shirt cuffs. I'm getting more interested by the minute. Tyson. Julie used that tone, the I'm speaking as your advisor, not your employee tone. Don't turn this into one of your games. This is business. 80 million, uncertain return, high risk. Julie, my dear. He grabbed the blazer hanging on the chair. Everything in life is a game. The question is it worth playing? He looked again at the photo on the tablet. Robin was staring at the camera as if calculating exactly how many human errors she could tolerate before detonating. There was something in those eyes, a mix of defiance and desperation carefully hidden beneath precision. Tyson recognized desperation disguised as arrogance. He had invented that disguise. Tell Jenny to get the car ready, he said, heading toward the door, and cancel all my afternoon meetings. I have a feeling this one's going to be memorable. The next morning, Robin stood in front of her bathroom mirror, glaring at the blazer Skylar had practically forced onto her. I look like a corporate consultant, she complained into the phone on speaker. You look like a professional who didn't spend the night in the lab, Skylar corrected. Which is a lie, I know, but they don't need to know that. I hate this. You hate anything that involves socializing, but you love your rocket. So breathe, smile when necessary, and let Carl handle the boring part of the conversation. Robin adjusted the blazer and twisted her hair into a bun she hoped said professional rather than prisoner of war. She applied a nude lipstick Skylar swore was subtle but powerful. She stared at the final result. Still looked like herself, just disguised as someone who didn't want to tell everyone to go to hell. If he's one of those guys who calls a scientific project his baby or talks about thinking outside the box, I swear I'll walk out, she warned. Robin, for God's sake, you need this money. I need someone to understand that this isn't an investment in tech meme startups. It's real science, real physics, propulsion that could change how we explore the solar system. And you're going to explain that to him, patiently, without sarcasm. Robin stared at her reflection and sighed. No promises. Carl's office was in the old part of town, in a building that had once served as a NASA command center back in the 60s. The walls still held black and white photos of astronauts, Apollo mission diagrams, and that distinctive scent of history mixed with stale coffee. Robin loved that place. Carl was already in the conference room when she arrived. 70-something years of quiet dignity, the kind that came from having seen a man walk on the moon and still believing humanity could do better. Robin. He stood and hugged her, one of the 3 hugs she tolerated on the planet. Ready? To be rejected. Again, always. This one's different. You said that about the Stanford Fund, and that venture capital group, and Mr. Nixon isn't like them. Robin frowned. The name sounded familiar. Too familiar. The aviation billionaire? She sat down. Carl, you're kidding me. That guy collects companies like trophies. He'll want creative control, his name on everything, and turn my project into a marketing campaign. Or Carl interrupted, with that infuriating mentor calm. "He'll give you unlimited resources, access to cutting-edge tech, and the freedom to do what you do best. And in return, he gets part of the credit, and eventually, the profit." Robin opened her mouth to argue when the door swung open, and Tyson Nixon walked in. The first thing Robin noticed, and hated herself for noticing, was that he was annoyingly handsome, not in the airbrushed magazine cover way, but in a way that suggested competence and confidence in dangerously balanced proportions. Dark hair, faintly graying at the temples, a sharp jawline, and eyes that looked like they were always evaluating how much something or someone was worth. He wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than all of Robin's lab equipment combined, and had that smile. That smile she instantly classified as trouble. "Dr. Meester." He extended his hand. "Tyson Nixon. A pleasure." Robin shook his hand. Firm, quick, professional. "Mr. Nixon. Tyson, please." "Mister makes me feel like I should be yelling at kids to get off my lawn." Carl laughed. Robin didn't. Tyson took a seat, and Robin noticed how he positioned himself strategically, not at the head of the table, where he'd assert dominance, but directly across from her, forcing eye contact. Basic negotiation technique. She knew the playbook. "So," Tyson folded his hands on the table, "Carl tells me you're building something that'll make SpaceX look like a toy company. I'm listening." Robin blinked, straight to the point. "No, how are you, or tell me about your journey." "Interesting." She opened her laptop and projected the schematics onto the screen behind them. "It's a revolutionary engine," she began, slipping into what Skylar called her relentless professor mode. "It functions like an efficient heart. It closes the cycle, wastes nothing, reuses energy that other engines simply discard. The result? Costs cut in half, travel time to Mars drastically reduced, and spaceflight becomes accessible. It's not just better, it's the future." Carl was smiling. Tyson watched the screen with a neutral expression. "Problems?" Robin asked, already mentally preparing her defense. "No issues," Tyson said, leaning forward. "Except for the fact that you're still thinking small." Robin arched an eyebrow. "Excuse me? You're selling me efficiency, savings, numbers." He pointed to the screen. "But this isn't about cutting costs. It's about unlocking the entire solar system. Permanent space stations, asteroid mining, real colonization." He looked directly at her. "You're not building a better engine, Doctor. You're building the gateway to humanity's future." Robin blinked. He understood, completely, even better than she had presented it. And somehow that irritated her more than if he had patted her on the head and offered her some talk about synergy. "That's exactly right," she said, keeping her tone controlled. "But vision without execution is just fantasy. I need to prove it works. And for that I need funding, $80 million for the prototype and 5 years of testing." $80 million. Tyson repeated the number as if ordering coffee. "Projected return? If everything goes well, revolutionize the industry and potentially be worth billions within a decade. If something goes wrong, a very expensive explosion, and me back in academia." "Brutal honesty." Tyson smiled. "I like that. It's not brutal honesty. It's realism. Science doesn't run on blind corporate optimism." Robin closed the laptop. "So, are you interested, or did you come here to waste my time with a let's stay in touch?" Carl cleared his throat. Tyson chuckled. "You don't care much for small talk, do you? Small talk is inefficient, and my time is valuable. So is mine." He leaned back in the chair, that faint smile still playing at his lips. "So I'll be direct. I'm interested, very interested, but not as a passive investor." Robin felt her stomach tighten. "Here it comes. I want an active partnership, full access to development, participation in strategic decisions, and co-leadership of the project." "Absolutely not." The words came out before she could filter them. "This is my project, my research, my life, and it will remain so." Tyson didn't seem remotely shaken by her rejection. "But I don't throw money into black holes, Doctor. I invest where I can add value, and I do add value." "I doubt it." Robin crossed her arms. "No offense, but what does an aviation CEO know about advanced space propulsion? More than you'd think." His smile turned challenging. I hold 3 patents in aerodynamics, served as a Boeing consultant for 5 years, and personally know half the suppliers you'll need. Plus, he leaned forward, locking eyes with her. I turn ideas into reality. It's what I do. And you, Dr. Meester, have a brilliant idea that's dying in a lab for lack of practical execution. The silence between them thickened. Robin hated it, hated that he was right. Carl, she said without breaking eye contact with Tyson, is this really necessary? Robin, Carl sighed. You need someone who understands both the technical and commercial sides. Tyson is the best option you'll find. And honestly, he looked at them both. The two of you together could create something extraordinary. Or explode spectacularly, Robin muttered. That option's on the table too, Tyson agreed, smiling. Robin looked at the projection screen, at the schematics she had drawn and redrawn hundreds of times, at the dream she had carried since she was 10, staring at the stars with her father. Then she looked at Tyson Nixon, with his dangerous smile and eyes that always seemed 10 steps ahead. Partnership, she repeated. 50-50. All decisions by consensus. You bring the funding and the connections. I retain full control over engineering and science. And if you ever try to turn this into a PR circus or cheap marketing stunt, I'll end the deal and return every cent. Deal. Tyson extended his hand. On one condition. Of course there was a condition. What is it? We prove who really leads this project. He stood. Carl sets the milestones, 30 days. Whoever achieves more goals resolves future disputes. Healthy competition. Better results. Robin stood as well, facing him. He was a few inches taller. She hated that too. You want to turn cutting-edge science into a reality show. I want to make sure we both give our best. Tyson kept his hand extended. And let's be honest, Doctor. You love a competition as much as I do. Damn him. He was right again. Robin shook his hand. Harder this time. Defiant. 30 days, and when I win, you keep your mouth shut about the technical side. And when I win, he didn't let go. You admit you're not always right. Their eyes met. For a second, Robin felt something. Strange. A spark, a flicker. Something that was definitely not professional anger. Probably just disgust. Probably. It'll be a pleasure to destroy your ego, she said, pulling her hand away. I'm looking forward to trying, he replied. Carl looked at the two of them and sighed. I'm too old for this. On her way out of the building, Robin called Skylar. Well, her friend answered anxiously. How did it go? I got the funding. Robin, that's amazing. I knew you. But now I have an insufferable, arrogant billionaire partner who apparently thinks he can tell me how to do my job. Is he handsome? Skylar. It's a valid question. Robin glanced back. Through the building's window, she could see Tyson talking with Carl, laughing about something, completely at ease in his own world. Irrelevant, she said. He's an obstacle, nothing more. Of course he is, sweetheart, Skylar replied, clearly smiling. Just an annoyingly well-dressed obstacle who just financed the dream of your life. Robin hung up and tried very, very hard to ignore the fact that her heart was still beating a little faster than it should. Definitely anger. Had to be. Robin arrived at the new office at 6 a.m. Not because she was anxious, definitely not anxiety, but because she needed to mark her territory. To establish that, partnership or not, this was her project, her space, and Tyson Nixon was merely the walking check lucky enough to be part of it. The space Carl had arranged was annoyingly perfect. A retrofitted industrial warehouse turned into a state-of-the-art lab, with ceilings high enough to house full-scale prototypes, cutting-edge testing equipment, and, Robin hated to admit, a spectacular view of the city through the glass windows on the second floor. She set her box of personal items on the main workstation, 3 coffee mugs with physics jokes, a framed photo of her father, her battered notebook, and a small replica of the Voyager 1 she'd received at graduation. Claiming the best spot before your partner arrives? Came a voice from behind her. What a shock. I thought engineers valued honesty and fairness. Robin turned slowly, wearing the expression of someone who'd just stepped in gum. Tyson stood in the doorway, 2 takeout coffees in hand, wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt with rolled-up sleeves. Casual, comfortable, as if he already owned the place. I got here first, she said, turning back to arrange her things. If you wanted the best workstation, you should have woken up earlier. But I imagine billionaires need their 12 hours of sleep on 1,000-thread sheets. 800, actually. He walked closer with that confident stride Robin mentally filed under insufferable. And I slept 6 hours, just enough to dream about orbital trajectories and, curiously, temperamental engineers. Must have been a nightmare then. The jury's still out. He held out one of the cups. Black coffee, no sugar. Carl told me you have caffeine instead of blood and no trace of human sympathy. Robin stared at the cup as if it were a live grenade. You brought poisoned coffee on the first day? Ambition or efficiency? If I wanted to poison you, Rocket Queen, I'd be much more creative. He took a demonstrative sip of his own. Probably something that looked like a lab accident. Controlled explosion. Much more my style. Rocket Queen, Robin repeated, taking the cup reluctantly. Seriously? You just gave me a rock band nickname from the 80s? I actually considered Dr. Delightful, but thought that might be too ironic. How about you just call me by my name? How about you admit you like the coffee? Robin took a sip. It was annoyingly excellent, probably from some boutique cafe with award-winning baristas and absurd prices. It's tolerable. Your enthusiasm is overwhelming. Tyson placed his own box on the workstation beside hers. I'll take that as thank you, Tyson. What a thoughtful gesture. Take it as stop invading my personal space. Our space. Plural pronoun. You're familiar with the concept? Or is physics the only thing you share? Robin gripped the cup hard enough for the lid to crack. Look, let's set some ground rules. You stay in your area, I stay in mine. You handle spreadsheets and important calls with your bored billionaire friends. I handle real engineering. Separate waters, world peace. Separate waters, Tyson echoed, leaning casually against the counter with that posture that screamed, I have too much confidence for my own good. Like those kiddie pools, with the divider in the middle? Exactly. Terrible analogy. There's always one kid who jumps to the other side and makes a mess. In this analogy, that kid is clearly you. In my version, that kid is you. He smiled. That smile Robin instantly decided she hated. Stubborn, territorial, and with serious sharing issues. I don't have sharing issues. I have issues with incompetence invading my workspace. Incompetence? Tyson raised an eyebrow. Rocket Queen. I hold 3 patents in aerodynamics, was a Boeing consultant for 5 years, and turned a bankrupt workshop into a $2 billion empire. But sure, I'm completely incompetent. Patents in aerodynamics aren't space propulsion. That's like comparing a bicycle to a spaceship. Both follow the same laws of physics, Professor Charm. Professor Charm, are you going to spend the whole day inventing ridiculous nicknames? Only until I find one that really irritates you. He tilted his head, studying her. Judging by the murderous glint in your eyes, I'd say Rocket Queen wins. Robin set the cup down with controlled force. Let's get one thing straight, Nixon. I don't need cute nicknames, overpriced coffee, or your used car salesman charm. I need you to keep your distance, sign the checks, and not turn my life's work into a corporate circus. Can you manage that without complications? I love it when you use big words. Tyson didn't seem fazed at all. It's almost sexy, in a terrifying, mildly concerning way. I'm not trying to be sexy. I know. That's part of the charm. Robin opened her mouth, closed it, opened again, but no sound came out. It was like arguing with quantum physics. Technically possible, but profoundly frustrating. You are unbearable, she finally managed to say. And you're fascinating. He was already opening his laptop, completely at ease. This is going to be fun. Robin grabbed her box and moved it to the opposite workstation, as far from him as humanly possible. It's not going to be fun, she muttered. It's going to be professional, efficient, and with minimal interaction. Of course, Rocket Boss. Stop with the nicknames. Tyson just smiled at his laptop screen, and Robin realized with growing horror that the next 30 days were going to be torture. The first week turned into a masterclass on how 2 highly intelligent people could hate each other creatively. Robin arrived at 6 a.m. Tyson arrived at 6:15, always with coffee, and always with some irritating comment about how she was eager or needed a hobby. She organized the equipment alphabetically by function. He reorganized it by frequency of use, leaving a note. Efficiency, aesthetics. You'll thank me later. T. She left a note in return. Logical organization, unsolicited opinions. You'll thank me never. R. On the third day, she found all her pencils arranged by size, from smallest to largest. On the fourth day, he found all his pens arranged by color, from red to violet in visible spectrum order, with a post-it. If we're going to be idiots, let's do it with scientific precision. That was the day Andrew arrived, midway through their silent war. He was in his mid-30s, blonde hair perpetually messy, thick-rimmed glasses, and a loyalty to Robin that bordered on religious devotion. He'd been her chief engineer on 3 different projects and knew her quirks better than she did. So, Andrew dropped his backpack onto a neutral workstation, glancing around with visible caution. That's the famous billionaire? Tyson was upstairs on the phone, gesturing animatedly as he paced in circles. Unfortunately, yes. Robin didn't look up from the schematics. And before you ask, yes, he's as irritating as he looks. No, there's no way to avoid working with him. And yes, I've already considered homicide, but the paperwork would be excessive. Wow, productive week. He reorganized my lab, Andrew. My lab, without asking. And the worst part? Robin finally looked at him, eyes wide with indignation. His system is marginally more efficient. Marginal. I hate admitting that more than I hate academic conferences with bad microphones. That's very specific hatred. No. Andrew glanced upstairs, watching Tyson laugh at something on the phone. He looks normal, like alarmingly normal for someone who could buy small countries. It's a trap. Robin returned to her schematics. He disarms you with competence and expensive coffee, then attacks with personal opinions and ridiculous nicknames. Nicknames? Don't ask. Just then, Tyson came down the stairs, still laughing about something on the call. No, send the contract directly. If they question the clause, remind them that. He spotted Andrew and waved. Gotta go, Bob. Yeah, no, legal threats only if necessary. Bye. He hung up and extended a hand to Andrew with a smile that seemed far too genuine to be real. You must be Andrew. Tyson Nixon. I read your paper on cooling systems for the Artemis mission. Brilliant work. You basically solved the overheating issue right when we needed it most. Andrew shook his hand, clearly caught off guard. You read my paper? I read all the team's relevant work. Tyson spoke as if it were obvious. Your article on managing heat without adding weight? Genius. It's like getting air conditioning without paying the electric bill. Robin watched the scene through narrowed eyes like a predator assessing territory. He's manipulating you, she said to Andrew. That's what he does. Seems genuine, but it's strategy. Or, Tyson interrupted calmly, I actually read and value the work of the team I invested $80 million in. But sure, Rocket Queen, keep spinning your conspiracy theory. It's adorable how you see scheming in everything. Stop calling me that. Adorable? You're right. My mistake. Charming is more accurate. Andrew looked between them like someone watching a car crash in slow motion. Horrific, but impossible to look away from. Do you two always do this? Do what? Robin snapped. This. The verbal tug-of-war disguised as professional interaction. It's not a tug-of-war, Robin corrected. It's the establishment of hierarchy and personal boundaries that a certain person keeps ignoring. It's very expensive couples therapy, Tyson muttered low enough for only Andrew to hear, who promptly choked back a laugh. What did you just say? Robin turned, eyes dangerous. Nothing, Rocket Captain. Tyson was already heading back to his area. I only commented that you have excellent hearing, probably from spending so much time in absolute silence, alone, without human friends. I have friends. Computers and equations do not count. Skylar is a real person. A person. Singular. What a social achievement. Andrew raised a tentative hand. Do you want me to come back later? Or never? No. Robin inhaled deeply, visibly forcing herself to regain composure. You stay. He is the one who should leave. My name is on the contract just as much as yours, Dr. Infinite Charm. Tyson did not even glance up from his laptop. And by the way, Andrew, welcome. There's fresh coffee in the machine. Not made by me before your boss suggests it's poisoned. Although given her taste for catastrophism, she'll probably test it before she drinks. Robin opened her mouth to retort but realized he was right. She had considered testing the coffee. "I hate you," she said simply. "I know." Tyson finally looked at her, that irritating smile back in place. "It's one of the most honest things about you." That night, Robin found Skylar at their favorite bar, a small, cozy place with low lighting, live jazz, and bartenders who knew how to make real cocktails. Skylar was already in her usual seat, an old-fashioned, waiting for Robin. "So," Skylar pushed the drink toward her. "How is life with the billionaire?" "Terrible. Horrible. I want to kill him with my bare hands, but that would be too obvious, and I'd look terrible in orange. Orange isn't your color anyway." Skylar agreed, completely serious. "So is he really that bad?" "He calls me nicknames, Sky." Robin took a generous sip. "Nicknames, as if I were a 5-year-old or some lapdog." "What kind of nicknames?" "Rocket Queen, Captain Rocket, Professor Charm." Robin made quotation marks in the air with such vigor she nearly knocked the drink over. "Yesterday he called me Dr. Delightful with that idiotic grin of someone who thinks he's hilarious." Skylar was clearly trying not to laugh. "And how did you respond?" "I told him that if he called me that again I would sabotage his jet." "Romantic." "It is not romantic," Robin almost shouted, making a few heads turn. She lowered her voice. "It's psychological warfare. He's trying to unbalance me. Or he's flirting. He is irritating me. There's a huge difference which you, as a socially functional person, should recognize." Skylar took a sip of her own martini, those knowing eyes gleaming with barely concealed amusement. "Let me see if I get this. He brings coffee every morning, reads the team's work, understands the project, is competent, and gives you silly nicknames. And you are furious?" "Yes." "Robin, dear." Skylar leaned in. "Men who annoy you are usually men who affect you, and you don't like being affected." "I am not affected. I am rationally irritated by social incompetence and invasion of personal workspace." "He's competent. You said so yourself." "Competent and irritating. Both can coexist, like attraction and irritation." "There is no attraction." Robin slammed her glass on the table. "There is pure, distilled, scientifically quantifiable hatred. If I could measure how much I despise that man, I'd win a Nobel." Skylar was openly smiling now. "You are so full of denial I could open a psychotherapy clinic using you as the case study." "You're a therapist now?" "No, but I'm your friend and I've known you for ages. And never, ever, have I seen you so energetically annoyed with someone." Skylar pointed at her. "You know what that means? That he's especially insufferable? That he challenges you, and you love being challenged, even if you hate admitting it." Robin went silent, swirling the drink between her hands, because Skylar was… No, she couldn't be right. She could not be right. "He reorganized my lab," she said, quieter now, "and his organization was better. And I hate that it was better. Because you hate being wrong." "I don't hate being wrong, I hate that he is right." "Semantics. It's different." Skylar sighed, but it was affectionate. "How long has it been since someone truly challenged you? Not just professionally, but personally?" Robin did not answer because the truth was, a very long time. Maybe never. Most of the men she knew were intimidated by her intelligence. Others tried to compete in insecure ways or simply gave up. Tyson did none of those things. He fired back when provoked, argued in return, and never backed down. And that was irritating. Just irritating. Nothing more. "Change the subject," Robin ordered. "Darling, you're the only interesting subject I have today. My gallery sold only one painting this week, and it was to a couple of tourists who'll probably hang it in their bathroom. Bathroom art is underrated. You've got a captive audience." Skylar laughed, and Robin allowed herself a smile. It was nice, having someone who knew her well enough to pierce the armor without hurting her. "Promise me you'll tell me if anything interesting happens?" Skylar asked. "Like if you two start killing each other literally, or something else." "What's something else?" "You know, that thing humans do when they stop pretending they hate each other." "It won't happen." Robin finished her drink. "Because I really do hate him. It's not an act, it's real." "Of course it is," Skylar said, wearing that infuriating smile. "Totally real." Across town, Tyson was in his meeting room, though calling it a room was modest. It was practically a private auditorium with a panoramic view, trying to focus on the quarterly financial report Julie had sent. It wasn't working. He kept thinking about their argument that afternoon. Robin had defended one approach. He'd suggested another, riskier but potentially more efficient. She'd looked at his numbers for exactly 40 seconds in total silence. He had timed it and then said, "Your idea works on paper, but you're ignoring one problem. When we enter Mars's atmosphere, unpredictable solar winds can throw off the trajectory in 60% of cases. The result? Failure. Spectacularly." And then she had proven with equations on the whiteboard exactly why he was wrong. Tyson hadn't been offended. He'd been impressed. And then annoyed that he was impressed. The phone rang. Julie, of course. "Are you working? Or replaying arguments with your partner?" she asked without preamble. "How do you always know?" "Because I've known you for years and you get that look." "I'm frustrated but intrigued. That usually comes right before terrible decisions." "What look?" "The same one you had before buying that drone startup that nearly tanked. And before deciding to learn Russian in 3 months. And before—" "I get the point." Julie sighed on the other end. "How's the project? And more importantly, how's your ability to work with someone who clearly hates you?" "She doesn't hate me." "Tyson, I was in the lab yesterday. She looked at you like she was calculating which acid would dissolve your body fastest. That's just her personality. Robin's intense. Robin's openly hostile. There's a difference. She's challenging." Tyson stood, walking to the window. The city glittered below. Millions of lights, millions of lives. "Do you know how long it's been since someone truly challenged me? Not for strategy, not for ego, but because they genuinely believe they're right and aren't afraid to prove it. And that attracts you. It keeps me interested." He ran a hand through his hair. "I invested 80 million, Julie. Of course I'm interested." "In the project? Or in the engineer?" Tyson didn't answer right away, because he wasn't sure. Robin was different, not just intelligent. He knew plenty of smart people, but she had that rare combination of technical brilliance, unshakable stubbornness, and brutal honesty that was as refreshing as it was infuriating. Most people he knew wanted something from him. Money, connections, status. Robin seemed to genuinely prefer that he didn't exist. It was intriguing. "The project," he said finally. "It's always about the project." "Of course it is," Julie replied, clearly unconvinced. "And that's why you spend 12 hours a day in the lab instead of delegating like any sane CEO would." "I'm an active partner. That was the agreement." "You're obsessed, there's a difference." Julie paused. "Tyson, just be careful. Robin Meester isn't like the other women you've been involved with. She won't be impressed by money, power, or charm. If you break her trust, there's no coming back." "I know." And he did. "And I'm not trying to— whatever you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm saying it outright. Don't treat this like one of your games. She's a person, with feelings, and access to rockets." Tyson laughed. "Noted. Don't anger the engineer with access to explosives. Basic survival wisdom." After they hung up, Tyson stood there for a long moment, staring out at the city below, thinking. Julie was wrong. He wasn't interested in Robin romantically. He was interested professionally, intellectually, that was it. The fact that she somehow became even more attractive when she was furious was irrelevant. The fact that he provoked her on purpose just to see that spark in her eyes was team management strategy. The fact that he thought about her before falling asleep, and that she was the first thing on his mind every morning was dedication to the project. Completely rational, completely professional, completely a lie. In the third week, Carl dropped the bomb. He called a meeting, Robin, Tyson, Andrew, and the key members of the 2 teams that had naturally formed around each of them. "First milestone," Carl announced, adjusting his glasses. 2 teams. 2 approaches to the ignition system. 30 days from now, both present functional prototypes. The best approach wins. "Wins what?" Robin asked, already suspicious. "Control over technical decisions for the upcoming milestones." "And?" Carl smiled. That knowing smile of a man who was fully aware of the chaos he was creating. Veto power on new hires. Dead silence. "You're turning cutting-edge science into a reality show?" Robin finally said, her voice dangerously calm. "I'm creating healthy motivation." Carl didn't sound the least bit apologetic. You two are far too competitive to work in passive harmony, so let's channel that. Better results, better science. I like it. Tyson leaned back in his chair, clearly entertained. It's Darwinism applied to engineering. This is ridiculous, Robin exploded. We're supposed to be collaborating, not competing. You love competition, Tyson said, meeting her gaze. You're not going to tell me you don't want to prove. Your approach is better. My approach is better. I don't need to prove what's obvious. Then it shouldn't be a problem to win, should it? Their eyes met across the table. It was like watching two chess masters silently evaluate the board. When I win, Robin said slowly, you keep your opinions out of my technical decisions. When I win, Tyson replied, you admit that sometimes someone other than you can be right. We'll see. They didn't shake hands. They just stared at each other with the intensity of two stars on a collision course. Carl watched them with the satisfied expression of a mentor who thought, my work here is done. Andrew and the rest of the team exchanged nervous glances. This was either going to end brilliantly or very, very badly. Probably badly. Definitely badly. Robin woke up at 4:30 in the morning with an idea. That wasn't unusual. Her brain had the annoying habit of solving problems while she slept and waking her up with fully formed solutions like an exceptionally inconvenient alarm clock. But this idea was good. Really good. She grabbed the notebook from her bedside table. She always kept one nearby, along with 3 pens of different colors, and started sketching. A modification to the valve system. If she adjusted the injection timing by fractions of a second and compensated with variable pressurization, 15 minutes later, she was in the shower, mentally refining her calculations while the hot water tried to convince her that normal human beings slept until at least 6 a.m. Normal human beings don't build rockets, she told the fogged mirror, drying her hair roughly. She got dressed in the dark. Jeans, a plain black t-shirt, comfortable sneakers. Makeup was a waste of time she reserved for mandatory conferences and funerals. Her hair was pulled back into a functional ponytail. Done. The apartment was silent, minimalist, almost empty. A reading chair near the window. A bookshelf filled with technical manuals and a few science fiction novels. A work desk with 3 monitors. No photos on the walls. No unnecessary decoration. Skylar always said the place looked like a bachelor astronaut's depressive outpost. Robin considered that a compliment. She grabbed her bag, laptop, and notebook, and was about to leave when she saw the framed photo on the side table. Her and her father. She was 10 years old, and he was pointing toward the night sky, both of them smiling. Robin stopped. She touched the glass with her fingertips. You're going to do something incredible, Robin, he had said that night. Something that will last longer than both of us. Something that will touch the stars. 3 years later, he was gone. Heart attack. Quick. No warning. And Robin decided that if he couldn't see the stars up close, she would see them for both of them. I'm trying, Dad, she murmured. But there's an infuriating billionaire in the way. She left the apartment at 5:20, grabbed a mediocre coffee from a drive-thru. Her coffee machine had broken, and she hadn't had time to fix it, and drove to the lab. The day was just beginning to lighten, that soft bluish hue that precedes sunrise. Robin liked that hour. The city was still quiet, fewer people, less noise, less humanity. She parked and went up to the lab, using the access card Carl had given her. Blessed silence. Equipment off. The whole space hers. For exactly 12 minutes. Rocket Queen's up early today. Tyson's voice came from the staircase. Robin didn't turn. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. How did you get in? She asked, continuing to assemble the equipment. Same way you did. Access card. She heard his footsteps approaching. But unlike you, I brought real coffee. A cup appeared in her field of vision, steaming hot, bearing the logo of that absurdly overpriced boutique cafe she secretly loved but would never admit out. Loud. I don't want your show-off coffee, she said without taking it. It's literally from the same cafe you order from. I saw the empty cup in the trash yesterday. Tyson placed the cup beside her. But sure, pretend it's about principles and not stubbornness. Robin looked at the cup, then at him, then back at the cup. She took it. This means nothing, she warned. Of course not. It's just caffeine delivered by your detestable business partner. He sat on the workbench beside her, with his own cup. "So what brilliant idea woke you up today? How do you know I had an idea?" "Because you're here at 5:45 in the morning with that 'I solved an impossible problem in my sleep' expression." He took a sip. "It's a very specific look. You do it a lot." Robin hated that he was learning how to read her. "Modification to the valve system," she said, against her better judgment. "Variable timing on injection. It could increase efficiency by 12%. Tyson was silent for a moment, processing. "Did you think about pressure compensation?" "That was literally the first thing I calculated. And material fatigue with the constant shifts?" "Second thing, how many cycles before replacement is needed?" "Tyson, I'm not an amateur." Robin finally looked at him. "I've thought through everything. I've calculated everything. It works." He studied her for a moment, those infuriatingly intelligent eyes analyzing. "Show me," he said simply. And Robin, against every territorial instinct she had, showed him. 2 hours later, Andrew arrived and found the two of them leaning over a massive diagram spread across the central table, different colored markers in hand, arguing loudly. No, you're not getting it," Robin was saying, circling part of the schematic. "If you place the valve here, the fuel enters unevenly, creating air bubbles that can cause catastrophic failure, which can be compensated with flow regulators here. And here," Tyson countered, sketching quickly. "See? Problem solved, efficiency maintained. But it adds weight to the system. 50 grams. 50 grams that cost a fortune when every extra kilo means more fuel burned. Robin, we're talking about a 12% increase in efficiency. 50 grams are irrelevant compared to that." "Irrelevant? Andrew cleared his throat loudly. Both of them turned at the same time, markers still raised like weapons. "Good morning?" Andrew tried cautiously. "Are you two fighting or collaborating? Because honestly, I can't tell." Robin and Tyson looked at each other. "Fighting," Robin said. "Collaborating," Tyson said at the same time. "We're productively disagreeing," Robin corrected. "That's different from collaborating." "That's literally the definition of collaborating," Tyson countered. "Not when you're wrong about the regulators. You only say I'm wrong because you don't want to admit I improved your idea. You didn't improve it. You complicated it. Necessary complication. Unnecessary complexity." Andrew slowly set his backpack down as if stepping into a minefield. "I'll go make coffee," he announced. "You two carry on with whatever this is." He escaped to the makeshift kitchenette on the second floor, where a professional coffee machine, which Tyson had installed, of course, gleamed beside Jenny, who was happily organizing what looked like a color-coded filing system. "They're fighting again?" Jenny asked cheerfully, sticking pink labels on folders. "I think so," Andrew said as he brewed a cup. "But they're also working together. It's confusing." "Oh, it's adorable," Jenny sighed dramatically. "It's like enemies to lovers, you know, that classic romance vibe." "Jenny, with all due respect, you've completely misread the room. They hate each other. They think they hate each other. But look," she pointed down through the glass partition where Robin and Tyson were still arguing, though now with less hostility and more technical gesturing. "He's smiling. She's engaged. That's body language for 'I respect you but will never admit it.' Or it's body language for 'I want to throw you out the window but there are witnesses.' Andrew, you have no romance in your soul. I have a sense of self-preservation." Robin finally stepped away from the table at 10 a.m., realizing she hadn't eaten breakfast, and her stomach was loudly protesting. Tyson had disappeared at some point, probably for one of those mysterious billionaire phone calls he took 3 times a day, and the lab had returned to its normal production rhythm. She grabbed a granola bar from the drawer, the breakfast of champions, as Skylar liked to say with heavy sarcasm, and was chewing mechanically when her phone rang. "Skylar, are you actually eating, or just nibbling on bars that taste like cardboard?" her friend asked, skipping any greeting. "How do you always know?" "Because I know you and you eat like an astronaut on an emergency mission. How's the project?" "Good. Really good, actually." Robin sat on a stool. "I had an idea this morning and it worked. It's going to improve efficiency significantly." "And the insufferable billionaire?" Robin hesitated, because the honest answer was complicated. "He helped." Silence on the other end. Then, sorry, I must have misheard. It sounded like you said he helped. It wasn't help. It was, forced refinement of my idea through argumentative opposition. So, he helped. Skylar. Robin, sweetheart. Her tone softened. It's okay to like working with him. You don't have to admit it out loud, but it's okay to feel it. I don't like working with him. I tolerate working with him because I don't have a choice. You've been at the lab for how long? 5 hours? 5.5. And he showed up when? 12 minutes after me. So he also woke up ridiculously early to go work with you. Skylar let that hang in the air. Just saying. He woke up early to work on the project, not with me. The project, noun, thing, not person. Keep repeating that. Maybe one day you'll believe it. You're terrible. I know. It's part of my charm, but Robin? What? You're going to have an actual dinner tonight, not a cereal bar. Real food, with a fork and a plate like evolved humans. No promises. I know. I love you even though you're a walking disaster. Love you too, pain in the neck. Skylar hung up and Robin stared at her phone for a moment. It was comforting, having someone who cared enough to call and check on her. Someone who knew her well enough to tell when she was lying to herself. Not that she was lying. She definitely, objectively, scientifically hated Tyson Nixon. The fact that working with him was intellectually stimulating was irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Tyson was at his office. His real office. Downtown. Not the makeshift space in the lab. For the first time in a week. Julie sat across from him, tablet in hand, reviewing numbers. So you're basically living in the lab now, she commented, not looking up from the screen. I'm not living there. I'm working there. 12 to 14 hours a day. It's an $80 million project. It requires attention. Or you're obsessed with proving something to an engineer who would clearly prefer you didn't exist. Tyson leaned back in his chair, pretending to go through emails on his laptop. She doesn't prefer that I don't exist. She just has issues with shared authority. Tyson, she hates you. She thinks she hates me. That's different. Julie finally looked up at him. Explain the difference, please, because from where I'm sitting it looks exactly the same. Tyson stopped pretending to work. Robin is complicated. She built walls because she had to. A woman in engineering, a field dominated by men. She's probably spent her entire life proving she's the smartest person in the room. He drummed his fingers on the table. So when I showed up, billionaire with money and influence, she saw another obstacle. Another man trying to take credit. And you're not? No. The answer came out more forcefully than he intended. I genuinely want this project to work. Not for the money, not for the ego. Because it's important. It's the real future. And Robin is the most capable person on the planet to make it happen. Julie studied him for a long moment. You respect her. Obviously. No, I mean you really respect her. Not in the she's competent for a woman way or the she's smart considering way. You respect her as an equal. Because she is, Tyson said simply. She's probably smarter than I am in at least 7 different fields. And she's not afraid to prove it. It's refreshing. And frustrating? Immensely. He smiled. She questions everything. She doesn't take my word just because I have money or experience. I have to prove every point. Defend every argument. It's exhausting. But you're smiling while you say that. Tyson realized he was. Then stopped. It's professional satisfaction. Working with someone competent. Right, completely professional. Julie didn't buy it. And you show up to the lab at 5:30 in the morning out of professional satisfaction too? She gets there at 5:15. I can't let her have the advantage. Do you hear yourself right now? Julie pointed at him. That's not business partner behavior, that's obsession. I'm not, Tyson. She cut him off. I know you. I know you when you're bored, when you're intrigued, and when you're obsessed. And you, my friend, are definitely obsessed. The question is, with the project or with the engineer? Tyson didn't answer right away, because the truth was, he didn't know. Robin was fascinating. The way her mind worked, the speed at which she processed information, her unshakable stubbornness, her refusal to ever lower her guard. She was pure challenge, wrapped in sarcasm and sharp intelligence. And yes, he arrived early. And yes, he provoked her on purpose. And yes, he had spent more time thinking about her than about anything else in the last 5 years. But that was intellectual curiosity, professional respect, healthy competitiveness. It wasn't anything else. Definitely not. The project, he finally said. It's always about the project. Julie sighed but didn't argue. You've got that meeting with the aviation investors next week, don't forget. I'll be there. Good. And Tyson? She stood, heading for the door. Whatever's going on between you and Robin, don't turn it into one of your experiments. She's not a company you can buy and fix. She's a person, with real feelings. I know that. Then act like it. After Julie left, Tyson stood at the window, staring out over the city. He had built an empire by being calculating, strategic, always 10 steps ahead. But Robin Meester wasn't business. She wasn't strategy. She was organized chaos, unpredictable brilliance, a challenge he couldn't solve with money or power. And for the first time in a very long while, Tyson had no idea what to do about it. The following week, the war escalated. Carl had officially divided the lab. Team Robin, Team Tyson, equal resources, 20 days to prove which approach was superior. Robin assembled her team strategically. Andrew as chief engineer, obviously. 2 technicians she knew from university, competent, loyal, ego-free, and a systems programmer who had worked at NASA and possessed the patience of a Buddhist monk. Our strategy, Robin announced during the first official meeting, is elegance through simplicity. Fewer points of failure, greater reliability. We'll prove that good design doesn't need unnecessary complexity. Is that a jab at Tyson's team? Andrew asked. It's a jab at Tyson's philosophy, Robin corrected, which coincidentally happens to be led by him. Across the lab, now literally divided by a strip of tape that Andrew had placed with comical solemnity, Tyson led his own meeting. Our approach, he was saying, is maximum efficiency through innovation. We're not doing what's always worked. We're doing what could work better. We'll take risks, test limits, and deliver something that redefines the standard. Jenny raised her hand. Is that a jab at Robin's team? It's a philosophical difference in methodology, Tyson said diplomatically, which coincidentally will prove that we're right. From the gallery above, Julie muttered to the assistant beside her, This will end either in fire or in marriage. There's no middle ground. 10 days passed in a chaotic choreography of intense competition, and then came the disaster. It was a Monday afternoon. Tyson's team was preparing for the first live test of their propulsion system. The revolutionary design he had guaranteed would be superior, based on one of his aerodynamics patents adapted for space use. Robin was on the other side of the lab with Andrew, reviewing her own calculations, when she heard the alarm. Problem, one of Tyson's technicians shouted. Pressure instability, it's rising fast. Robin dropped everything and ran. Tyson was already at the control station, fingers flying across the keyboard. But his eye expression was wrong. There was panic there. Uncertainty. What's happening? She asked, rushing to his side. The flow stabilizer. Tyson was typing furiously. It's creating a vortex instead of stabilizing. Pressure's climbing and I can't compensate manually. Robin looked at the screens. The numbers were red, climbing fast. Too fast. Which stabilizer did you use? My design, based on the aerodynamic patent I developed for Boeing. His voice carried a tension Robin had never heard before. It worked perfectly in aircraft. It should have worked here. Tyson, airplanes and rockets aren't the same thing. Robin was already pulling up his schematics. Planes operate in dense atmosphere. Rockets transition from density to vacuum. The flow behavior is completely... I know that! He exploded. For the first time since they'd met, Tyson lost his composure. I adapted the design. It should have worked. Andrew came running over. How long do we have? 3 minutes. Before we have to shut it down manually, Robin said, scanning the data. 4 before it blows. Tyson finished tensely. Before $80 million turns to ash. The lab went silent. Everyone stared at the screens. At Tyson. At Robin. Move, Robin said quietly. Tyson looked at her. What? Move. Out. Of. The way. She was already sliding into the controls. Your design's flawed. I can fix it, but you need to trust me, now. For a split second, she saw the war on his face. Ego. Pride. that need to be right, to be the invincible genius. And then, he stepped back. "Do it," he said simply. Robin dove into the controls, Andrew beside her, anticipating every command. "Reroute the flow to the secondary lines," she muttered, fingers flying. "Andrew, drop primary pressure by 40%. Dropping. Compensating with variable injection. Now." The numbers began to stabilize. Red to yellow, yellow to green. "Vortex dissipating," Andrew announced. "Pressure normalizing," Robin confirmed. 30 seconds later, everything was green. The lab erupted in a mix of relieved sighs and restrained applause. Robin released the keyboard, her hands trembling ever so slightly from the rush of adrenaline. Tyson stood behind her, completely still. When she turned, his expression was devastated. Not angry, not frustrated. Pure humiliation. "Your design was based on the right principles," Robin said quietly, surprising even herself with the gentleness in her voice. "But the context was wrong. Aviation and space are different beasts. It's not your fault for not knowing that. It's your fault for not asking first." Tyson didn't respond. He just nodded, jaw tight, and then he left the lab. No words, no smile, no witty remark. He just left. Robin stared at the door, feeling something strange in her chest. It wasn't victory. It wasn't satisfaction. It was concern. "You just saved $80 million, Andrew said softly. "And his ego." "I know." Robin's eyes were still fixed on the door. "Then why does it feel like I just broke something?" Tyson didn't come back that day. Robin tried to work. She really did. But her focus was shattered. Her eyes kept drifting toward the door, half expecting him to walk in with some sarcastic comment or smug provocation. But nothing. By 6 in the evening, when everyone else began packing up, Andrew approached her carefully. "You saved the project today," he said. "You realize that, right?" "I saved his part of the project," Robin corrected, still staring at the diagrams without actually seeing them. "It shouldn't have been necessary. But it was. And you were there." Andrew folded his arms. "Robin, you literally prevented an $80 million explosion. That's heroic. So why do you look like you feel bad about it?" "I don't feel bad. You're making that face." "What face?" The eye processed an uncomfortable emotion and don't know what to do with its face. He knew her too well. "You're worried about him." "I'm not." But her voice lacked conviction. "I'm concerned about the project. If his ego's too bruised to work effectively, that affects all of us." "Right. Totally about the project." Andrew's tone was dry. "Nothing to do with the fact that you've never seen the almighty Tyson Nixon fail before, and now he's human." Robin didn't answer, because Andrew was, annoyingly, right. Seeing Tyson vulnerable, seeing him step back, seeing him silently admit defeat, it had broken something in the narrative she'd built about him. He wasn't the invincible billionaire anymore. He was just a man who'd bet on his own genius and lost. And for some incomprehensible reason, that bothered her more than it should have. "Go home, Andrew," she said finally. "I'll stay a bit longer. You always stay a bit longer. Tonight I have a reason." After Andrew left, Robin remained alone in the quiet lab, staring at the system she'd saved. At Tyson's design, brilliant in theory, flawed in execution. She picked up her phone, hesitated, put it back down. "It's not my responsibility to comfort him," she thought. "He's an adult. He'll get over it." But the image of him walking out, shoulders tense, jaw clenched, eyes empty, kept replaying in her mind. Robin grabbed the phone again. She typed, "Your design had potential. It just needed adjustments for a different context. There's no shame in not knowing. Something outside your field." She looked at the message, deleted it, too soft, too comforting, not their tone. She typed again, "You messed up. It happens. Even to me. Rarely. Come back tomorrow and fix it. Better. More. Her." She hit send before she could change her mind. The reply never came. Across the city, Tyson stood in his apartment, staring out through floor-to-ceiling windows with a glass of whiskey he wasn't drinking. The phone buzzed. A message from Robin. He read it, reread it, a third time, and felt something unfamiliar. Relief? Gratitude? Something he couldn't quite name. He typed 5 different responses, deleted them all. How do you reply to someone who just saved you from the worst professional humiliation of your life without sounding pathetic or overly sentimental? The phone rang. Julie. I heard you had an interesting day, Julie said without preamble. Interesting is one word for it. Tyson stepped away from the window. Humiliating is another. You failed. It happens. Not to me. His voice came out sharper than intended. Not in front of an entire room. Not with Robin having to save me like I'm some incompetent child playing with fire. Tyson, you adapted aviation technology for space propulsion without consulting her. Julie wasn't being gentle. She was being honest. You let your ego take the wheel, and when it went wrong, she saved you. That's not humiliation. That's partnership. Partnership implies quality. I failed. She won. Are you angry at that or at yourself? Tyson went silent because the truth was, he was angry at himself for being arrogant, for thinking he could apply knowledge from one field to another without verification, for needing to be saved, and worse, for needing to be saved by Robin, the woman he'd been trying to impress for weeks. She texted me, he said finally. And I don't know what to say. Thanks for saving my project, and my ego sounds pathetic. You were right and I was wrong sounds like surrender. Tyson, listen to yourself. Julie sighed. She reached out. She's trying to tell you in her own way that she's not rubbing it in your face, and you're overanalyzing it like it's a chess move instead of human connection. I don't know how to do human connection with her. All I know how to do is provoke and compete, then learn. Julie's tone left no room for argument. Because if you don't show up tomorrow, if you let your bruised ego keep you away from that lab, Robin won't respect you, and you'll lose not just the project, but any chance you might have had with her. I don't have a chance with her. She hates me. She sent you a supportive message after you crashed and burned. People who hate you don't do that. Go back tomorrow, own the mistake, thank her, and be human, not a corporate automaton. After hanging up, Tyson looked again at Robin's message. Come back tomorrow and fix it. Simple, direct, very her. He typed, I'll be there, thanks for saving 80 million. And my stupid pride. He hit send before his ego could interfere. The reply came 2 minutes later. Your pride's too big to save completely, but you're welcome. Tyson smiled. She was teasing, which meant they were okay. Not okay, but not irreparably broken either. It was a start. The next morning, Robin arrived at the lab at 5:15. As always, at 5:20, Tyson walked in. No coffee, no smirk, just determination. He went straight to her station, stopped in front of her workbench, and waited until she looked up. I was wrong, he said simply. I adapted technology without proper validation, let ego override expertise, and you saved not just the test, but probably the project's credibility. He drew in a breath. Thank you, and I'm sorry for being arrogant enough to create the situation in the first place. Robin blinked, processing. Tyson Nixon, admitting fault, thanking her. No sarcasm, no bravado, no armor. That was surprisingly mature, she said at last. Don't get used to it, it hurt. But there was a faint smile tugging at his lips. Can I get back to work, or do you want to humiliate me a little longer? Can't I do both? Of course you can. Robin stood, opened a drawer, and handed him something. A post-it note. In her handwriting, fact. Even geniuses screw up. The difference between a genius and an idiot is admitting it and learning. You're 70% genius today. Try for 80% tomorrow. Tyson took the note, read it, and felt that strange thing in his chest again. 70%? He repeated. Generous. Don't get used to it. Tomorrow I go back to being ruthlessly critical. Wouldn't expect anything less, Rocket Queen. I hate that nickname. I know. He slipped the note into his pocket. That's why it works. And for the first time since the disaster, the lab felt right, balanced. They went back to work, still on opposite sides, still competing, but something had changed. Real respect, mutual, earned through failure and rescue, and neither of them had the faintest idea what to do with it. That night, Skylar called. So, she said without any greeting, I heard you saved the billionaire from himself. Andrew's a gossip. Andrew loves me, and he's worried about you. Skylar's voice was smiling. Robin could hear it. How do you feel? Relieved the project didn't literally explode? Not the project. Him, Tyson. How do you feel about saving him? Robin hesitated. Strange, she admitted finally. I should feel good. I proved I was right. I won. But when he walked out, she stopped. It didn't feel like victory. Because you don't want to destroy him. You want to compete with him, Skylar said, always cutting straight to the truth. It's no fun to win when your opponent's broken. It's not about fun. It's about… Robin searched for words. He came back today. He apologized. For real, no ego, no defenses. And I didn't know how to handle that. Handle humility, or the fact that he's human? Both are equally unsettling. Skylar laughed. Sweetheart, you're starting to like him. I am not. You are. You respect him now. Respect is a dangerous step before other things. There are no other things. There's enhanced professional tolerance. That's it. Keep repeating that. Skylar was definitely smiling. But when you realize you're falling, for the charming billionaire, remember I warned you first. I'm not going to fall for him. Of course not. That's why you texted him a supportive message instead of letting him suffer alone. That was pragmatism. We need him functional. Right. Totally pragmatic. Skylar sighed. Good night, Robin. Try to fall asleep thinking about equations. Not him. And she hung up before Robin could protest. Robin stared at the phone, annoyed, because Skylar was… No, she wasn't right. Robin wasn't falling for him. She was simply recalibrating her perception based on new evidence. Tyson was human, fallible, capable of humility. That didn't change anything. Except it changed everything. Robin knew something was wrong the moment she arrived at the lab and found flowers on her workbench. Not a romantic bouquet, not red roses with a cheesy card. Worse, it was a blue orchid, technically impossible in nature, genetically engineered into existence, in a minimalist glass vase, with a card written in annoyingly elegant handwriting that read, "For the Rocket Queen, rare, complicated, and technically uncontrollable, but real nonetheless. T." Robin stared at the flower for exactly 15 seconds, processing the audacity. Then she grabbed the vase, marched across the lab where Tyson was talking to two suppliers, and set the orchid down on his table with a sharp thunk. No, she said simply. Tyson looked at the flower, then at her. That infuriating smile began to form. Good morning to you too, Dr. Sunshine. Sleep well? I don't accept floral bribes. It's not a bribe, it's botanical appreciation. He picked up the vase, studying the bloom. I thought you'd appreciate the genetic engineering behind it. It took 5 years to develop that specific shade of blue. I appreciate that you wasted money on an overpriced plant that's going to die in 2 weeks. 3 weeks, actually. Orchids are resilient. He extended the vase toward her again. Like you. I'm not resilient, I'm persistent. There's a difference, and I don't want your flower. Our flower, Tyson corrected. Technically 40% of it's yours. We're partners, remember? That's not how partnership works. Then educate me, Professor Bitterness. Robin opened her mouth to snap back when she realized both suppliers were watching them, caught somewhere between amusement and deep discomfort. She took a slow breath, counted to 5 in her head. Keep the flower, she said to the suppliers. A reconciliation gift from my collaborative partner. She turned and walked back to her area, feeling Tyson's gaze on her the entire way, and hating that she could feel it. She loved it, Tyson told the suppliers. She just won't admit it in public. Robin put on her headphones and buried herself in calculations, determined to ignore Tyson's existence for the rest of the day. It lasted 40 minutes. Tyson couldn't stop smiling. Robin's reaction had been exactly what he expected. Moral indignation laced with confusion over how to process a gesture that was both thoughtful and provocative. She hated not knowing how to respond. He loved seeing her off balance. And yes, the word loved had crossed his mind. He chose to ignore it. You're playing with fire, Andrew said, appearing beside him with a cup of coffee. She looks like the kind of person who knows how to hide bodies. She's a scientist. She probably knows at least 5 or chemical ways to dissolve evidence. Tyson took a sip. But where's the fun in life without a little danger? Most people find fun in, I don't know, hobbies, sports, not provoking territorial engineers. I have hobbies. Work doesn't count as a hobby. I disagree. Tyson glanced across the lab, where Robin was completely absorbed in her work, brow furrowed in concentration, absent-mindedly chewing on the cap of her pen. I strongly disagree. Andrew followed his gaze and sighed. You do realize she genuinely hates you, right? This isn't pretend hate, but secretly intrigued. This is real, documented, possibly cloud-backed hatred. She thinks she hates me. Semantics. Psychology, Tyson countered. Robin built an emotional fortress because she had to. I don't take her hatred personally. It's a defense mechanism. Or she just actually hates you. Possible, Tyson admitted, but unlikely. People who truly hate you don't debate orbital mechanics with you. For hours, they just avoid you. She debates because you're in her way, geographically. She'd avoid you if she could. Tyson considered that. I disagree. Of course you do. Andrew was smiling now. You're like those people who see a beware of dog sign and think, he probably just needs a friend. You're saying Robin's a guard dog? I'm saying you're going to get bitten, eventually, and you'll deserve it. Tyson laughed, because Andrew was probably right. But that didn't stop him from wanting to provoke her again. The day got worse, or better, depending on who you asked. Right around lunchtime, Robin was in the makeshift break room, reheating what looked suspiciously like 3-day-old Chinese takeout, when Tyson walked in carrying 2 bags from a restaurant that screamed expensive. Lunch, he announced, setting one of the bags in front of her. Robin looked at it like it might detonate. I didn't order anything. I know, I did. He started unpacking. Containers. Grilled salmon, asparagus, brown rice, all organic, 0 preservatives. And before you ask, no, it's not poisoned. Why did you order food for me? Because you were about to eat what appears to be fossilized lo mein. He pushed a container toward her. And I need you alive and functional. Beating you because of food poisoning isn't satisfying. Robin eyed the food. It smelled incredible. Her stomach betrayed her with a loud, undignified growl. This is psychological. Warfare, she accused. You're trying to throw me off with fake kindness. It's food, Robin, not a Trojan horse. He sat down with his own lunch. But if you prefer the Jurassic noodles, be my guest. She hesitated. Her logical brain said, refuse on principle. Her stomach said accept and question later. The stomach won. She picked up the fork and tasted. It was perfect. Perfectly seasoned. Cooked just right. Clearly made by someone who treated food as an art form. Satisfied? Tyson asked, obviously amused. It's acceptable, Robin said, taking another bite. Acceptable, that's literally a 2 Michelin star chef, but sure, acceptable. Food is food. It serves a biological function. It doesn't need awards. You're impossible to impress, aren't you? I'm not impossible, I just have standards. She took a sip of water. And I'm not changing my opinion of you just because you brought fancy food. I don't expect you to. Tyson leaned back, watching her. But maybe consider that I'm not the enemy. Just constructive opposition. Constructive opposition, Robin repeated. That's what you call constant professional irritation? Exactly. Glad we're on the same page. They ate in silence for a few minutes. It wasn't exactly comfortable, but it wasn't hostile either. It was strange. Like 2 predators calling a temporary truce while they ate. Can I ask you something? Tyson broke the silence. You will anyway. True. He smiled. Why, rockets? Out of everything you could have done with that brain, why this? Robin stopped eating. The question was personal, intrusive. From anyone else, she'd have ignored it. But something in the way he asked, genuine curiosity, no judgment, made her consider answering. My father, she said finally. He was an amateur astronomer, taught me to look up. She pushed the food around her plate absent-mindedly. He died when I was 13, and I decided that if he couldn't go to space, I'd send something of his there. A piece of what he taught me. She glanced at Tyson. Rockets aren't just machines to me, they're legacy. Tyson was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer. He'd be proud. You didn't know him. I don't have to. Any father would be proud of a daughter who's literally trying to reach the stars. Something tightened in Robin's chest. Something inconvenient. Emotional. She shoved it back where it belonged. And you? She asked, changing the subject. Why aviation? You could be lying on some private beach counting money. Tried it, boring. Tyson finished his meal. My dad was a mechanic. Taught me that anything can be fixed if you understand how it works. I inherited his shop, turned it into a business. The business became an empire. He shrugged. But deep down, I'm still the kid who wants to understand how things fly. Robin processed that because it made sense. Annoyingly, it made perfect sense. So we're two orphans obsessed with flight, she said. Profound psychological revelation. Or two stubborn people who don't know when to quit. I never quit. I know. Tyson looked at her with that intensity she was starting to recognize. It's one of the things I respect about you. The air shifted. Thicker now. Heavier. Robin stood abruptly. Thank you for the food. It won't happen again. Of course not, Captain Resistance. That nickname is ridiculous. They all are. That's the point. You are the point. Thank you. I work hard at it. Robin left the break room before she could say something she'd regret. Or worse, before she could process what had just happened between them. Because whatever it wasn't just lunch. Because for 1 second, just 1 second, she had seen Tyson not as the infuriating billionaire, but as a person with a story, a person with real motivation beyond money and ego. And that was dangerous, because it was easier to hate him when he was just a caricature of an arrogant billionaire. Much harder when he was human. That night, Tyson was at home, in the ridiculously large apartment he rarely used, trying to focus on financial reports and failing miserably. He kept thinking about their lunch conversation, about the way Robin had opened up just a little, about that carefully contained vulnerability when she mentioned her father, about how her eyes had gone distant for a brief second before rebuilding her walls. He grabbed his phone and dialed. It's 10 p.m., Julie answered. Is this an emergency, or are you just bored? Neither. Maybe both. Tyson walked to the window. Hypothetical question. Oh no. If you were interested in someone… Tyson. Hypothetically, Julie. If you were interested in someone who clearly hates you, but also debates with you for hours and eats the food you bring, what does that mean? You're asking me if Robin likes you? No. I'm asking if she hates me less than she pretends. Same thing. Semantically different. Tyson, listen to yourself. Julie sighed. You're analyzing her interactions like they're equations. She accepted lunch, plus she debated physics equals… What? Repressed attraction? Professional respect, Tyson corrected. I'm interested in efficient work dynamics. You're interested in her. I'm not. You brought her a genetically modified orchid. It was an educational and thoughtful gesture. You bring her lunch because she eats garbage. You arrive at the lab 15 minutes after she does every day because she gets there absurdly early and someone has to make sure she doesn't blow anything up unsupervised. Tyson, Julie used that tone. The I'm your friend and I'm about to tell you something you don't want to hear tone. You're obsessed. And look, it's not my place to judge, but Robin isn't like the other women you've been with. She doesn't want your money. She doesn't want your power. She genuinely seems to wish you didn't exist. I know that. And yet you keep provoking her. Why? Tyson didn't answer right away, because the honest answer was complicated. He provoked Robin because she was the first person in years who truly challenged him, who wasn't afraid of him, who looked at him and saw a man, not a bank account, not a connection, not a title. She saw a competitor, an obstacle, and that was addictive. Because she makes me think, he said finally. Because working with her is like playing chess with a grandmaster. Every move matters. Every word has weight. She doesn't accept half-truths or smooth talk, and when I prove a point, when she admits I'm right, he paused. It's better than closing any deal. Tyson, you do realize that sounds like… No, he cut her off. It doesn't sound like anything except professional respect and healthy competitiveness. Keep telling yourself that. Julie clearly didn't believe him. But when you finally realize you're in love with her, don't say I didn't warn you. I'm not falling in love. Of course not. I'm serious. I know. That's part of the problem. You never notice until it's too late. After they hung up, Tyson stood at the window, staring out at the city. Julie was wrong. He wasn't in love. Falling in love was for people who had time and patience for romance and emotional chaos. He was interested, intellectually stimulated, professionally engaged. The fact that he thought about Robin before falling asleep and she was the first thing on his mind when he woke up was project dedication. The fact that he provoked her just to see that spark of fire in her eyes was creative team management. The fact that her smile, rare but genuine when it appeared, did something strange to his chest was definitely not romantic. Definitely, probably, maybe, damn it. The next few days were an escalating war of provocations. Tyson started leaving post-its on Robin's workbench with fun facts about her. Robin Meester smiled today. Duration, 0.3 seconds. Rare event, scientifically documented. The Rocket Queen has been using the same purple pen for 3 weeks. Consider diversifying your writing arsenal. You are annoyingly brilliant. Annoying 40%. Brilliant 60%. Margin of error, my wounded ego. Robin began responding in kind. Tyson Nixon wastes time writing notes instead of working. Efficiency, 0. Entertainment value, also 0. Billionaires who buy overpriced orchids are compensating for something. Science doesn't specify what, but I have theories. You are insufferably persistent. Insufferable, 95%. Persistent, 5%. Margin of error, my exhausted patience. Andrew watched the exchange with growing concern. You two are starting to look like those high school couples who fight all the time but are actually flirting. It's not flirting, Robin said without looking up. It's documented hostility. With hidden complimentary adjectives, there are no compliments, only forced tolerance. Annoyingly brilliant sounds like a compliment. The annoying cancels out the brilliant. That's not how adjectives work. Andrew, go back to work before I transfer you to Tyson's team permanently. That would be cruel and unusual punishment. Exactly. On the other side of the lab, Jenny was having a similar conversation with Tyson. You do realize you're flirting, right? She asked, sorting through paperwork. I'm not flirting, I'm encouraging professional engagement through playful interaction. Jenny gave him that look, the one that said, you can't possibly believe that. Tyson, with all due respect, I'm 24 and even I know that's flirting. Grade school flirting, but still counts. Grade school. You know when boys pull girls' hair because they don't know how to express emotions properly? She grinned. Except instead of hair, you're tugging at her intelligence. More sophisticated, same energy. Tyson considered that. Interesting psychological analysis. Completely wrong, but interesting. Sure, totally wrong. Jenny clearly didn't believe him. That's why you keep looking at her when you think no one's watching? I don't. You do. I see it. Everyone sees it. It's like background radiation. Constant. Jenny, you should be filing. Already filed. I multitask. She stood. But, seriously, boss, if you like her, maybe try not annoying her constantly. Just a thought. I don't like her. I respect her professionally. Of course, professionally. That's why you brought her an orchid. It was an educational gesture about genetic modification. You're in so much denial you could start a hydroelectric plant. Jenny walked out, still smiling, and Tyson was left alone with his thoughts, and with the sight of Robin across the lab, completely absorbed in her work, biting the end of her pen absent-mindedly, brow furrowed in concentration. She was, no, not going there. He turned back to his work, determined to focus. It lasted 7 minutes before he looked at her again. 48 hours remained before the final test. The lab was in full controlled chaos. Technicians running back and forth, equipment being tested and retested, Carl supervising everything with that mentor's expression that wavered somewhere between pride and existential dread. Robin was in the improvised control room, checking sequences for the 17th time. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours in the last 2 nights. Coffee was basically flowing through her bloodstream. Her eyes burned, but the numbers were perfect, technically perfect. You need to rest, Andrew said, appearing beside her with a bottle of water. Seriously, boss, you look like an extra from a zombie apocalypse movie. Zombies are functional. I'm operational. That's enough. Robin, Andrew, 48 hours, 48. If anything goes wrong, if even one calculation is off by the slightest fraction, everything blows up. Literally. She downed the water in one go. I can't rest. Not now. Across the lab, Tyson was having a similar conversation with Julie. who had come in person to supervise the event. "You look like a CEO who hasn't slept in 3 days," she noted, skimming through the schedule. "Oh, wait. You are a CEO who hasn't slept in 3 days. I slept 4 hours last night. 2 hours at a time doesn't count as real sleep." Julie gave him a look. "Tyson, you have a competent team. Delegate. Trust them. Rest." "I can't." He ran a hand through his hair. "If anything fails, it's my responsibility. $80 million, Julie. 80 million and the future of a technology that could change everything. And the stubborn engineer on the other side of the lab? Is she your responsibility too?" Tyson didn't answer right away. He just looked across the room at Robin, who was gesturing animatedly to Andrew about something on the screen. "It's complicated," he said finally. "Tyson, you've turned complicated into a lifestyle." Julie closed the tablet. "But seriously, you two need to sort out that tension before the test, because if it blows up during, we're all doomed." The afternoon brought the unexpected, in the form of Jenny and her aggressively positive energy. "Guys!" She burst into the lab like a pink tornado. "Carl said you need to test the flight simulator before the big day. Something about calibrating emergency systems under pressure?" Robin and Tyson looked at each other from opposite sides of the lab, the first eye contact they'd made in hours. "The simulator?" Robin frowned. "That wasn't in the schedule. Carl added it last minute." Jenny scrolled on her phone. "He said you two specifically have to do it together. Something about coordinated leadership in extreme crisis. Scenarios." His words, not mine. "You're joking." Robin snapped her laptop shut. "Jenny, I have 1,000 things to check. I don't have time for some corporate team-building theater inside a simulator." "Neither do I," Tyson agreed, for the first time in weeks completely aligned with her. "Tell Carl we'll do it after." "Carl said it's mandatory," Jenny interrupted with that dangerous enthusiasm that made Robin want to scream. "And if you don't do it, he'll cancel the test until you prove collaborative performance under pressure." Direct quote. Dead silence. "He wouldn't," Robin said, but her voice held doubt. "He absolutely would," Tyson muttered. "Carl's like a sadistic Yoda when he wants to make a point." They exchanged another look. This one clearly said, "We'll kill Carl later." "How long?" Robin asked, resigned. 20 minutes. Tops. Super quick." Jenny was practically bouncing. "The simulator's in Annex B. Let's go." The flight simulator was a sealed capsule, a claustrophobic replica of a spacecraft cockpit. Room for 2 people. Barely. Screens, controls, and that suffocating sense of being locked inside a very expensive metal can. Jenny led them in with infuriating cheer. "So, you go in, the door seals automatically. The system triggers a space emergency and you work together to solve it." She read from the tablet. "Carl said it's crucial for observing communication patterns under extreme stress. He's very serious about this." "Of course he is," Robin muttered, climbing into the capsule. The space was smaller than it looked from the outside. 2 seats side by side, maybe 16 inches apart. Robin took the left seat, trying to ignore how cramped it felt. Tyson entered behind her, and the space instantly shrank by half. He was tall, impossible to ignore, and the cockpit forced a proximity they'd carefully avoided for days. "This is ridiculous," Robin murmured. "Completely agree," Tyson said, settling into the seat. "Perfect." Jenny grinned from the doorway, tablet in hand. "So I'll just activate the system and—" She tapped the screen. The simulator door sealed shut with a heavy pneumatic clunk. The interior lights flickered on, a sterile blue glow that made everything feel even more claustrophobic. And then, nothing. 5 seconds of silence. 10 seconds. "Jenny," Robin called out. "You can start the program now." Silence. "Jenny?" Tyson tried the control panel. Nothing responded. He reached for the manual release on the door. It didn't budge. "No!" Robin felt panic beginning to rise. "No, no, no! Jenny, this isn't funny." From outside, muffled but still audible, came Jenny's panicked voice. "Oh God, oh God, oh God, the tablet froze. The system's not responding, I can't open the door." Robin closed her eyes and counted to 10. It didn't help. "Jenny!" she shouted. "You locked us in here and you don't know how to open it? I'm so sorry." Jenny's voice cracked with full-blown hysteria. "I'll get the technician. He must be—" Where was he again? Does anyone know where the simulator tech is? Footsteps running. Then, dead silence. Robin and Tyson sat there in the sealed capsule as the reality of the situation slowly sank in. I'm going to kill her, Robin said with terrifying calm. Slowly, scientifically, I'll document every step. Get in line. Tyson was testing every control within reach. Complete system shutdown. No internal E. Manual override. Great, absolutely fantastic. Robin leaned back, closing her eyes. 48 hours before the most important test of my life, and I'm trapped in a metal box with you. Appreciate the overwhelming enthusiasm. It's not personal. Okay, maybe slightly personal, but it's mostly circumstantial and extremely irritating. Tyson laughed. You are literally incapable of being diplomatic, even when we're trapped together in a sealed capsule, aren't you? Diplomacy doesn't open locked doors. Fair point. Robin checked her phone. No signal. The capsule was shielded to simulate actual space conditions. Perfect. How long do you think it'll take? She asked. For Jenny to find the technician, get him here, have him diagnose and fix it? Tyson checked his phone. No signal either. Being wildly optimistic? 30 minutes? Realistically? An hour. If Jenny's in full panic mode and forgets how doors work? 2 hours. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Heavy silence settled. The capsule was very small. Robin became hyper-aware of everything. Tyson's breathing, the heat radiating from his body in the confined space, the faint scent of expensive cologne and coffee. It was impossible to ignore, impossible to create distance. Uncomfortably, claustrophobically intimate. 5 minutes dragged by, then 10. So, Tyson finally broke the silence. Since we're apparently going to be here a while, maybe we could talk? About what? Weather? Politics? Cake recipes? About us. About this. He gestured vaguely between them. Why we do this. Do what, exactly? This war, the constant competition, the teasing, the ridiculous nicknames, the need to win every single exchange like it's a duel to the death. Robin looked at him sideways. You started the nicknames. True, but you responded. You could have ignored me. Tyson, you are literally impossible to ignore. It's like trying to ignore a fire alarm in your own house while it's burning. It's not a choice, it's survival. What a poetic image. I'm deeply moved. It wasn't a compliment. I know. It rarely is. Tyson turned as much as the cramped seat allowed to face her. But seriously, answer me. Why? If I'm so unbearable, why not just tolerate me in professional silence? Why respond to every jab? Why argue with me for hours over minutia and theory? Robin fell silent, because it was a genuine question, one she had avoided asking herself. For weeks. Because you challenge me, she said at last, her voice quieter. And I hate that. I hate that you understand the physics. I hate that your ideas are often good. I hate that you don't back down when I push. I hate that I have to work, really work, to prove my point to you. And that's bad. It's exhausting. Robin stared at her hands. I've spent my whole life being the smartest person in the room. Men underestimated me. I proved them wrong. And that was that. Simple. Predictable. She took a deep breath. And you don't underestimate me. You treat me like an equal, a real opponent. And that means I can't just stay on my intellectual pedestal. I have to step down and fight on your level. It's what? It's terrifying. The admission slipped out more vulnerable than she intended. Because what if I fight and lose? What if you prove you're better? Then what? Who am I if I'm not the smartest one? Tyson looked at her, his expression shifting, into something she couldn't quite read. Robin, he said softly. No nickname, no teasing, just her name. Do you realize that not once, have I ever thought I was better than you? She blinked. You literally compete with me every day to prove exactly that. No, he said quietly. I compete to keep up with you. He leaned forward slightly, his voice low but steady. You are the most brilliant person I've ever met, and I've spent my life in rooms full of geniuses, PhDs, people who've built empires. None have your mix of technical brilliance, creative vision, and sheer infuriating stubbornness. You don't have to prove anything. You already are. Extraordinary. Robin's heart did something entirely irrational. It jumped, skipped, forgot how to function properly. You're saying that because we're trapped and you're under stress. I'm saying it because it's true. Tyson cut her off. And because apparently being trapped in a metal box is the only situation where I can be honest without hiding behind sarcasm. Robin didn't know what to say. There was no protocol for this. No scientific framework for the man I swore to hate just gave me the most sincere compliment of my life. She began, then stopped. Why do you do it? Do what? The teasing, the nicknames, the coffee every morning, the orchid. Robin finally looked at him. Really looked. Why? If you respect me as much as you say, why spend weeks annoying me? Tyson was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, lower, stripped of armor. Because it was the only way to get your attention. He gave a humorless laugh. I know how that sounds. Immature, like a middle school boy who doesn't know how to express feelings. But it's the truth. You were so determined to hate me, to see me as an obstacle or a threat, that teasing was the only way to stay on your radar. To make you see me, not the billionaire funding your project, but me. Tyson. And Julie was right. He went on as if needing to get it all out before he lost his nerve. I'm obsessed, not just with the project, with you, with the way your mind works, the way you never settle for an easy answer when there's a perfect one buried 3 layers deeper, the way you bite your pen cap when you're focused, that tiny expression you make right before you completely destroy my argument. Robin forgot how to breathe. You notice when I bite my pen? I notice everything. Tyson's voice was low, steady, almost reverent. And I tried to pretend it was professional interest, that it was just about the work. But it's not. Hasn't been for weeks. Maybe it never was. And being trapped here, in this tiny space, unable to escape this conversation. He met her eyes. Maybe it's exactly what I needed to finally tell the truth. The silence that followed was thick, charged with everything unsaid over the past weeks. Robin should say something. She should deflect, make a joke, rebuild the walls, but she couldn't. Because for the first time she was seeing Tyson Nixon not as a rival, not as a threat, not as the infuriating billionaire who loved to provoke her, but as a man, vulnerable, honest, real. I don't know what to do with that, she admitted finally, her voice strange in her own ears. With this information, with, you like this, you don't have to do anything. Tyson leaned back, giving her space she hadn't asked for but suddenly needed. I just needed you to know, because after the test you'll probably win the competition, take full control of the project, and find a polite way to push me out. And that's fine, but I needed you to know that. You're not just the brilliant engineer to me, you're the most fascinating person I've ever met, and working with you, even with all the war and the teasing, has been the most alive I've felt in years. Robin opened her mouth, then closed it, tried again, but no. Words came. You're impossible, she managed finally. I know. You've ruined everything. I know. I was perfectly comfortable hating you. I know. He smiled faintly, but there was sadness behind it. Sorry for messing that up. No. Robin surprised herself and him. Don't apologize. You can't drop an emotional bomb like that and then apologize as if it's a scheduling inconvenience. Then what do you want me to do? I don't know, she burst out. I don't know. Tyson, you think I have a protocol for this? You think there's a section in my brain labeled what to do when your infuriating business partner confesses obsession inside a flight simulator capsule? Probably should add one. Seems like a recurring scenario, not a joke. I know, sorry. He raked a hand through his hair, an unmistakable sign of stress she'd seen before. I just don't know how to do this without humor. Being honest about what I feel isn't exactly my strong suit. Guess what? It's not mine either. They sat in silence for several long minutes. Not comfortable, not hostile, just charged. A fragile ceasefire in orbit. Can I ask you something? Tyson broke the silence. You're going to ask anyway. True. He hesitated, the usual confidence slipping for once. Do you feel anything besides professional hatred and the urge to throw me out a window? Robin went still, because that was the question, the one she'd avoided, ignored, buried under layers of denial and intellectual armor. She stopped, drew in a slow breath. I shouldn't. Logically, rationally, I shouldn't feel anything beyond forced professional tolerance. You're complicated, annoying. You invade my space. You provoke me constantly. You knock me off balance. But, Robin closed her eyes. But you also challenge me in ways no one ever has. You look at me and actually see me, not just a brain. You argue because you care about being right, not because you want to prove me wrong. You bring me coffee because you noticed what I like. You read all the team's papers because you actually care about the work. And I hate, absolutely hate, that all of that gets to me. How does it get to you? Like, she opened her eyes and met his. Like I think about you when I shouldn't. Like your provocations became the best part of my day, even when they drive me insane. Like I come in early not just to work, but because I know you'll show up 15 minutes later with that stupid smile. She stopped, because she was saying too much, admitting too much. Like you what? Tyson pressed gently. Like I don't want to hate you anymore, Robin whispered. And that terrifies me, because hate is simple, hate has rules. But this, whatever this is, I have no protocol for, no control, and I need control, Tyson. That's how I function. What if you didn't have to? He leaned just slightly closer, voice low. What if, for once in your life, you let something happen without calculating every variable? That's scientifically irresponsible. That's humanly normal. I'm not good with normal. I know. He smiled, that quiet, disarming smile she no longer hated. It's one of the things I like most about you. And then the door hissed open with a sudden pneumatic shh. Jenny stood there, breathless, hair sticking out, a scowling technician beside her frantically tapping at a tablet. "We got it!" she practically shouted. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. The system froze completely. We had to hard reset the main server and the tech was in another wing and..." She stopped, froze, because Robin and Tyson were very close. Chairs turned toward each other as far as they could go, faces inches apart, breathing uneven, the air between them heavy enough to hum. Jenny blinked rapidly. "Did we interrupt something? Something important? Should we come back later?" "No," Robin said, leaping from the capsule so fast she nearly tripped. "No, absolutely not. We were just stuck, talking about the project, exclusively about the project." "Of course." Jenny bit her lip, clearly trying not to grin and failing. "The project, totally got it." Tyson exited slower, recomposing the calm CEO mask, but his eyes still burned with that same intensity when they met Robin's. "Thanks for getting us out, Jenny." "Yes, of course. Sorry again for the..." Jenny waved vaguely. "The whole situation, but look on the bright side. You two seem so much closer. The team-building exercise worked?" "No," Robin and Tyson said in perfect unison. Right. Jenny's grin was uncontainable now. "Totally didn't work. You still hate each other exactly the same." Message received. Robin strode out of the annex without looking back, heart racing, brain in full meltdown, hands trembling just slightly. What had just happened? Everything had happened, and she had no idea what to do with it. The next 40 hours were both the longest and shortest of Robin's life. Longest, because every minute was torture. Proximity to Tyson, side by side, coordinating teams, checking systems, pretending nothing had changed, while every word he'd said in that capsule echoed through her mind. "You're the most fascinating person I've ever met." Shortest, because time was running out. The final test loomed. Everything they'd worked for, years of research, precision, and risk, all converging into one moment. No room for mistakes, no room for whatever this was. They barely spoke, only what was necessary, professional, efficient. But the looks, God, the looks. Every time Robin lifted her head, she found Tyson's gaze already on her. And when he realized he'd been caught, he didn't look away, just held her eyes for one beat too long before returning to his work. It was unnerving and infuriating, and something else she refused to name. Andrew definitely noticed. "So," he said the night before the test while they ran final checks on the power systems, "did you two fight or make up? Because the energy's weird. Like, weird. Charged weird." "Nothing happened," Robin said automatically. Andrew raised a brow. "Right, and I'm the Easter Bunny." Robin didn't answer. because anything she said would have sounded like a lie, mostly because it was. Uh-huh, and I'm an astronaut. Andrew wasn't buying it. Robin, you're vibrating. Literally. Vibrating with something. Test nerves or the other kind? Just the test. A lie. A complete lie. That's all that matters right now. Sure, he clearly didn't believe her. And did you sleep at all last night? 3 hours. Robin, it's enough. She didn't even look at him, her eyes locked on the diagrams. Andrew, please, just let me focus. Tomorrow decides everything. He sighed but obeyed. On the other side of the lab, Julie was having the exact same conversation with Tyson. You're different, she observed, scanning the final schedule. Ever since you left that simulator, something happened? No. Tyson. Julie, can I have a conversation that doesn't turn into a psychological interrogation? Not when you've got that face. She closed the tablet. The face of someone who finally admitted something important and has no idea how to process it. Tyson didn't respond, because she was, annoyingly, right. Ever since the capsule, since saying everything out loud, something had shifted. Not outwardly. Outwardly, everything looked the same. Professional, efficient, focused. But inside, pure chaos. Because Robin had admitted it. Not in so many words, but she had admitted she felt something. And now Tyson couldn't stop thinking about it. About her. Tomorrow's the test, he said finally. That's all I can think about right now. Sure, Julie replied, unconvinced. And after the test? We'll deal with after when it comes. Deep, philosophical, completely evasive. She studied him for a moment. Whatever's going on between you and Robin, just don't ruin it, all right? She's good for you. You're more alive, more engaged, more yourself than you've been in years. Don't lose that to fear or pride. I'm not losing anything because there's nothing to lose. But his voice lacked conviction. Julie only gave him a sad smile and went back to work. The morning of the test, Robin woke at 4 a.m. with her stomach in knots. She hadn't really slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw either trajectory equations or Tyson saying those things, looking at her that way. She took a cold shower, put on jeans and a plain black t-shirt. No blazer this time. There was no one left to impress. Tied her hair back, no makeup, no rituals, just her and the most important test of her life. She arrived at the lab by 5. The place was already transforming. Technicians setting up cameras, scientific publications installing recording equipment, a few potential investors. Carl had controlled the guest list carefully, but some were inevitable. The prototype sat on the test platform, hidden under a protective panel. A scaled-down but fully functional rocket engine. Months of work. Millions of dollars. A lifetime dream. Everything depended on the next few hours. Ready? Came Carl's voice behind her. Robin turned. Her mentor wore that rare expression of paternal pride. No, she admitted, but we're doing it anyway. That's my girl. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Robin, no matter what happens today, you've already proven everything you needed to. This prototype, this work, this project, it's revolutionary. You know that, right? Her throat tightened. I need it to work, she said, her voice coming out more vulnerable than she'd meant. Not for the money, not for the fame, but because this is everything. It's everything I am. No, Carl turned her gently to face him. It's everything you've done. Who you are is right here. He tapped her forehead. And here, he touched over her heart. Remember that. Robin nodded, not trusting her voice. Tyson arrived 15 minutes later, impeccable in dark jeans and a button-down shirt, but his eyes carried the same exhaustion as hers. He hadn't slept either. Their eyes met across the lab, and for one suspended moment, everything else disappeared. The cameras, the people, the pressure, only them, and all the words that had gone unsaid. Tyson gave a small nod. She returned it. Let's do this. By 9 a.m., the lab was full, but controlled. Carl stood at the central console, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ignition test of the Meester Nixon propulsion system. He used both names equally. Developed by Dr. Robin Meester and Mr. Tyson Nixon, this prototype represents a significant advancement in spatial efficiency, sustainability, and operational cost. In the next few minutes, we will demonstrate a controlled ignition capacity with an efficiency 40% higher than current market standards. Robin sat at the main control station, fingers poised over the keyboard, eyes fixed on the screens. Andrew was on her right. 2 technicians behind them monitored secondary systems. Tyson was at Station B, managing telemetry and fuel pressure. Julie stood beside him, tablet in hand. On the other side of the room, 10 meters apart, separated by machinery and a mountain of unresolved tension. "Beginning pre-ignition checks," Carl announced. "All teams report status." "Electrical systems nominal," Andrew reported. "Fuel pressure stable," Tyson said. "Telemetry operational," another technician confirmed. "Ignition control ready," Robin finished. "Excellent." Carl checked the countdown timer. "Initiating countdown. T-minus 10 minutes. The lab fell quieter. Cameras recording, investors watching. The pressure was tangible, almost physical. Robin went through every system methodically, all green, all perfect. But the voice in her head whispered, "What if it isn't enough? What if it fails?" She pushed the thought down. Not now. Not today. T-minus 5 minutes. Her hands were steady. Training taking over. Adrenaline focused. Andrew glanced at her. "You've got this, boss." "I know. I have to know." T-minus 3 minutes. Robin took a deep breath. Her eyes moved to the photo of her father she had placed discreetly beside the monitor. "This is for you, Dad. For us." T-minus 1 minute. 60 seconds. Everything she'd worked for. Everything she was. T-minus 30 seconds. And then, "Wait," Robin frowned, eyes darting over the screens. "We have a problem." Carl halted the countdown immediately. "What problem?" "Fuel pressure in the secondary line." Her fingers flew over the keyboard. "It's fluctuating. 0.3% variation. That shouldn't be happening. Every test showed complete stability." "Confirmed." Tyson was at his own terminal. "Primary lines also showing variance. Smaller, but present. 0.2%. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Cameras zoomed in. The tension multiplied. "Can it be corrected?" Carl asked, calm but firm. Robin was calculating, numbers racing across the screen, her brain running at full speed. "Possible, but we need to identify the root cause first. If it's a mechanical issue in the regulator..." "It's not mechanical," Tyson cut in, pulling up his own data. "We tested that 20 times. It has to be external." Robin froze, looked at his data, then hers, and she saw it. "Ambient temperature," they said at the same time. Their eyes met across the room. "The room's 3 degrees warmer," Robin continued, already pulling up the environmental readings. "With all these people, the equipment running, it's affecting the fuel's viscosity," Tyson finished, already accessing the compensation controls. Minimally, but enough to create pressure fluctuation. Carl was impressed but kept his composure. How long to correct it? Robin and Tyson exchanged a glance. Silent communication, the kind built only through years of working together. 5 minutes, Robin said. "If we work together," Tyson added. "Then work together," Carl ordered, turning to the audience. "Just a minor technical adjustment. Perfectly normal for a test of this complexity." Robin was already leaving her station, grabbing her laptop and crossing to where Tyson stood. No time for awkwardness. No time for unspoken tension or capsule confessions. Only the problem and the solution. Tyson made room at the console. Robin set her laptop beside his. Screens side by side, data linked. Shoulders brushing, focus absolute. "You recalibrate lines 1 and 2, Robin said, typing rapidly. "I'll take 3 and 4. Coordinated temperature. Compensation, synchronized on my mark," she finished. They worked in complete silence. 2 minds functioning as one. Microscopic adjustments. Surgical precision. Andrew watched in awe. Julie smiled faintly. 3 minutes. "Line 1 adjusted," Tyson reported. 3 as well, Robin confirmed. 4 minutes. Their hands moved over the same controls, sometimes brushing. Tiny sparks of electricity ignored in favor of complete focus. 2 adjusted. 4 compensated. 4.5 minutes. Robin checked the final numbers. Tyson did the same. "Validation?" she asked. "The numbers are perfect." He looked at her. "Yours?" "Perfect." Robin held his gaze for a moment longer than necessary. Synchronizing in 3, 2, 1. Now. They executed the changes simultaneously. The screens flickered, systems processed, everyone held their breath, and then green. Green across every display. Pressure stabilized, Andrew practically shouted. All lines nominal. Spontaneous applause erupted from the audience. Carl smiled, that rare, proud smile. That's teamwork, people. He turned back to the microphone. A perfect demonstration of coordinated leadership under pressure. Resuming countdown. T-minus 30 seconds. But Robin and Tyson didn't move. They were still there, inches apart, breathing fast, adrenaline pulsing through their veins. Their hands were still on the same controls, still touching. T-minus 20 seconds. Robin should have gone back to her station. Tyson to his. Neither did. We did it, Tyson said softly. Only for her. We did, Robin confirmed, her voice low too. T-minus 15 seconds. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Something that had nothing to do with the test. Recognition, respect, and something more, something dangerous. T-minus 10 seconds. Robin, Tyson began, his voice rough. No, she cut him off. Not now, after the 9, 8, 7. But he wasn't looking at the screens. He was looking at her. And for the first time in weeks, Robin wasn't thinking about rockets or physics or tests. She was thinking about how Tyson was too close, and not close enough. 6, 5, 4. About how she wanted to hate him, and couldn't anymore. 3, 2. About how everything he'd said in that capsule was true, and she had denied it, and now she couldn't deny it anymore. 1. And Tyson did what he'd wanted to do for weeks. In the final second, before she could even react, before the ignition button mattered, Andrew had already pressed it. The system was already live. Tyson grabbed Robin's face and pulled her to him, and kissed her. It wasn't a soft kiss. It wasn't tentative. It was the kind of kiss that said, I hate how much I want you. A kiss born of weeks of repressed tension, loaded provocations, respect that had turned into attraction that had turned into need. It was hot, desperate, inevitable. Robin froze for half a second, shock, her brain catching up, and then melted completely. Her hands tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, responding with the same intensity. All the anger, all the rivalry, all the respect and desire and confusion ignited into a kiss more explosive than any rocket engine. In the background, far in the background, the roar of the test motor, perfect ignition, successful test, but neither of them noticed. The lab erupted in cheers and applause. Carl was laughing. Andrew had a hand over his mouth, somewhere between shock and I knew it. Julie was smiling like she'd just won a private bet. Jenny was secretly taking photos on her phone, and Robin and Tyson kept kissing as if the world had disappeared and only they existed. When they finally pulled apart, oxygen inconveniently necessary, they stayed there, foreheads touching, breaths unsteady, eyes still closed. You're indecent, Robin whispered. I know, Tyson replied, smiling against her lips. You ruined everything. I know. I still hate you. Liar. He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise, not an explosion. When they finally broke apart, Robin opened her eyes and saw the entire lab watching, cameras rolling, investors staring, the whole world witnessing. Oh, damn, she said. Yeah, Tyson agreed. Definitely damn. But neither of them seemed to really care, because the rocket had worked, and so had they. Finally, the silence that followed the kiss lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then Carl, with that all-knowing mentor's smile, spoke into the microphone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true meaning of chemistry between partners, scientific and otherwise. He winked. Test completed with absolute success. Time to celebrate. The crowd erupted into applause and laughter. Cameras flashed. Investors exchanged amused glances. Robin and Tyson still stood there, hands intertwined, neither aware of when that had happened, staring at each other as if trying to solve an impossible equation. So, Tyson said at last, that smile starting to form. That happened. Apparently it did. Robin was trying to regain her composure and failing spectacularly. In front of everyone, with cameras and investors and Carl, who absolutely planned this. He planned the test. The kiss was my improvisation. Terrible improvisation. Completely against protocol. You kissed back. Reflex. Involuntary. For 45 seconds? I didn't time it. I did. Tyson tugged her a little closer. And they were the best 45 seconds of the last 5 years. Robin opened her mouth to snap back, but Andrew appeared with a bottle of champagne. Congratulations, he shouted, handing them both glasses. For the test and for the other event we just witnessed and will definitely never forget. Andrew, Robin began, warning in her tone. Boss, you literally made out with a billionaire on camera. There's no going back, it's canon now. He was glowing. Also, fun fact, I had a bet with Julie that this would happen before the end of the month. I just won $200. You bet on us? Robin and Tyson said in unison. Half the lab did. Andrew shrugged. Jenny's got the records. You didn't know, Robin, but there was a betting pool with predicted dates, locations, and who'd make the first move. Tyson was the clear favorite. I'm firing everyone. Robin muttered, but there was no real threat in her voice. No, you're not. Tyson whispered close to her ear. You're too happy to fire anyone right now. And Robin realized with genuine surprise that he was right. She was happy, radiantly, impossibly happy, like she'd finally solved the equation that had haunted her for months. Because she had. The equation was them. The official celebration lasted 2 hours, interviews with scientific journals, conversations with investors now, eager to sign checks. Carl receiving praise he humbly redirected toward the real geniuses who made it happen. Robin and Tyson were pulled apart by the crowd, but their eyes kept finding each other across the room. Each time, that same smile, that same silent promise. We'll continue this later. When they finally escaped, almost 6 in the evening, the lab was empty except for Jenny, packing up equipment and humming something suspiciously like wedding music. You two are still here? She asked innocently. I thought you'd already run off somewhere romantic. Dinner? A 5-star hotel? Jenny, Tyson said evenly. You locked us in that simulator on purpose, didn't you? Jenny froze for a second. Guilty pause. I didn't. Maybe Carl might have suggested you needed some forced alone time to resolve unspoken tension, and I might have helped destiny a little? Robin crossed her arms. You conspired with our mentor to trap us in a metal box? For your own good, Jenny defended. And it worked. You kissed in front of everyone. It was beautiful. I even got chills. You took pictures, Tyson pointed out. For memories. Emotional scrapbook. Jenny grinned. Also, you two are wasting valuable time standing here discussing logistics when you could be, I don't know, dating? Robin and Tyson exchanged a glance. She has a point, Tyson admitted. Unfortunately, yes. Robin grabbed her bag. Jenny, go home, rest, and delete the photos. Never. They're historical artifacts. Jenny, okay, but I'm keeping one for the wedding album. We're not getting married. Jenny just smiled and waved as she left, humming cheerfully. Silence finally settled over the lab. Robin and Tyson, alone for the first time since the kiss, stood in the center of the space where they'd spent months competing, provoking, denying. So, Robin said, suddenly nervous in a way quantum physics had never made her, what do we do now? Tyson walked toward her slowly, wearing that smile that was no longer irritating, just devastating. Now we do what we should have done weeks ago. He stopped in front of her. We stop pretending. We stop competing. And we admit that this, he gestured between them, is a lot more interesting than any professional rivalry. Tyson Nixon, are you proposing? What exactly? Dinner? With me. Tonight. Now. He took her hand. No business talk. No propulsion debates. Just you and me, figuring out how this dating thing works when we're not trying to kill each other professionally. Robin pretended to consider. Dating implies mutual tolerance and emotional commitment. Terrifying, I know. And you want to do that? With me? The woman who spent months publicly hating you? Rocket Queen, he said softly, using the nickname she no longer hated. I want to do it because you hated me. Because you made me earn every inch of respect. You challenge me. You make me think. You make feel alive. He laced his fingers through hers. And that kiss? It was confirmation of what I've known for weeks. I don't want a business partner. I want you. The whole brilliant, stubborn, maddening package. Robin's heart did something completely irrational. It melted. That was surprisingly articulate for someone who communicates mostly through sarcasm and overpriced coffee. I've had weeks to rehearse mentally. Weeks? Possibly months. He pulled her a little closer. So, dinner? Give the annoying billionaire a chance to prove he can be romantic when he's not trying to win a project bid? Robin looked at him. Really looked. At the man who had entered her life like a storm, turned everything upside down, challenged every certainty, and somehow become the most important person on her radar. One condition, she said finally. Anything. You keep challenging me. Keep debating. Keep making me work to prove my point. She cupped his face. Because the second you start agreeing with everything just to please me, I'll lose interest. Tyson laughed, that genuine laugh that reached his eyes. Robin Meester, did you just ask me to keep being irritating as a condition for dating? Irritating with respect. There's nuance. You are the most fascinating person in the universe. He kissed her again, softly this time, a promise instead of an explosion. Deal. I'll keep being irritating. You keep being disarming. And we'll figure out how to make it work. Scientifically irresponsible. Zero protocol. Completely human. He smiled against her lips. Try it. Just once. And Robin, the woman who always needed control, who calculated every variable, who never jumped without a safety net, jumped. Fine. Dinner tonight. She kissed him back. But if you take me to some pretentious restaurant where the waiters explain every ingredient like a thesis defense, I'm leaving. Noted. Nothing pretentious. And you're not. Paying for everything just because you're a billionaire. We split it. Absolutely not. That's the one area where I'm traditional and old-fashioned. Tyson. Robin. He looked at her seriously. Let me do this. Let me take you to a proper dinner. Treat you the way you deserve and prove I'm more than ego and a bank account. Please. And when he asked like that, with disarming sincerity behind the charm, it was almost impossible to resist. All right, she sighed, defeated. But, just this once. No, every time. He laced his fingers firmly through hers, the gesture decisive, possessive. Now come on, I know a place. That place turned out to be a small Italian restaurant in a neighborhood Robin had never explored. No pretension, no waiters explaining dishes, just honest food, better wine, and an atmosphere that invited long conversations. They sat at a quiet table, ordered, and for the first time in months, talked without armor. About childhood, about parents and the weight of legacy, about dreams beyond rockets and empires, about fears no one else saw. What are you afraid of? Robin asked, swirling her wine. Irrelevance, Tyson admitted. I've spent my life building, proving, winning, and I keep wondering, when does it stop? When do I become the bored billionaire on a yacht making no real difference? He looked at her, and then you showed up, with your brilliant project and your refusal to tolerate me, and suddenly, I mattered again. Not because of money, but because of what I could contribute, because of the challenge. I'm afraid too, Robin said softly, of not being enough, of all this work meaning nothing, of the rocket being my only legacy, and then emptiness. She took his hand across the table. But today, when we fixed that problem together, when we synchronized perfectly, I realized something. Strong women still need support, safety, and a place to fall. I realized maybe I don't have to do everything alone. You never did. Tyson intertwined their fingers. But you had to figure that out in your own time. They sat like that, hands joined, eyes steady. The world outside moving but irrelevant. I'm still going to annoy you, Tyson warned. I'm counting on it, Robin smiled. And I'll still argue violently with you about methodology. Wouldn't expect anything less. And I'll definitely still call you out when you're wrong, which will be rare, but possible. He smiled. And I'll keep bringing coffee, teasing you, and probably giving you nicknames you claim to hate but secretly like. I don't like the nicknames. Rocket Queen, you're lying again. Shut up and kiss me. And he did. There, in the corner of the little Italian restaurant with half-finished wine and cooling plates, Robin Meester and Tyson Nixon kissed like two people who had finally stopped fighting the inevitable. When they broke apart, Tyson rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said simply. Robin froze. You What? I love you. He repeated it, eyes steady. I know it soon. I know it's scary. But I've spent too long lying about what I feel. And the truth is, I love you. Your irresistible intelligence. Your infuriating stubbornness, the way you bite your pen when you're thinking. All of it. I love all of it. Robin's heart was pounding out of control. Say something, her brain ordered. Be articulate. Be eloquent. I love you, too, came out. Awkward but true. And I hate that I love you because it complicates everything but also simplifies everything. And my brain doesn't process emotions well. But this, you, she took a breath. I love you, even though you're irritating. Maybe because you're irritating. Definitely despite the billionaire part. Tyson laughed, pulling her into a kiss that was both celebration and promise. That was the best love confession I've ever received. It was terrible. It was perfect. It was you. And Robin finally let herself melt completely. Weeks later, the lab had a new rhythm. Robin still arrived at 5:15. Tyson arrived at 5:20, with 2 coffees. They worked side by side now. No territory lines, no competition. Just partnership. Real. Equal. And when they disagreed, which happened often, it turned into a passionate debate that ended either with a kiss or a brilliant solution. Sometimes both. Andrew watched them with constant amusement. You two realize you're nauseating now, right? He said one day, like a commercial couple from an insurance ad, making single people feel inadequate. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Robin shot back, but she was smiling. It's not jealousy, it's aesthetic concern. He gestured toward Tyson, who was literally adjusting the equipment while Robin supervised, their hands touching unnecessarily. That's a violation of lab protocol. Andrew, get back to work. Yes, ma'am. Dr. In love, ma'am. Robin threw an eraser at him, but she was smiling, because for the first time in years she had everything. The project, the dream, and someone who understood both. Someone who challenged her, respected her, loved her. Someone who turned rivalry into romance. Tyson appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. What are you thinking about, Rocket Queen? That you ruined my perfectly organized life, and now it's infinitely more complicated and chaotic. And? Robin turned in his arms, smiling that smile that was only for him. And I wouldn't change a thing. Not 1 second. They kissed there, in the middle of the lab, surrounded by scientific equipment and shared dreams. And somewhere up there among the stars Robin had always loved, her father was smiling, because she hadn't just reached for the sky. She'd found someone to fly with her. The silver ring on Robin's finger caught the light as she adjusted the binoculars, focusing on the bright point cutting through the night sky. The rocket ascended, majestic, leaving an orange trail against the infinite black, a sight that never grew old, no matter how many times she witnessed it. From Kennedy Space Center, the observation platform was crowded. Investors, journalists, team members, all gathered to witness the 13th successful launch of Mr. Nixon Aerospace. 13 launches in 36 months. Their names were quite literally written across the heavens. Telemetry's perfect. Andrew's voice crackled through the radio. He was director of engineering now, his hair a bit grayer, but his loyalty untouched. Stage separation in 3, 2, 1. Confirmed. Nominal trajectory. Copy that, Robin replied, finally allowing herself to breathe. Good work, team. Familiar arms wrapped around her waist from behind, a chin resting on her shoulder with the easy intimacy of someone who did. Every day. Your technology just placed another satellite in orbit, Tyson murmured in her ear, his voice rich with pride. How does it feel, Dr. Mr. Nixon? Robin turned in his arms, smiling. It was still strange sometimes, the hyphenated name she had taken after their wedding. A small ceremony, just close friends. Carl officiating with that I always knew smile. But it felt right, perfectly right. It feels like we finally did it, she said. What we started in that chaotic lab with you annoying me about tool organization. I improved your organization, scientific fact. You're insufferable, marital fact, and you love me for it. He kissed her softly, the kind of kiss that comes after years of practice, of knowing every angle, every sigh. Across the platform, Julie was talking with a group of investors from Asia. The company had grown beyond every projection. Carl, officially retired but forever present, was glowing as he explained technical details to the specialized press, and Jenny, now communications coordinator earning a respectable salary and contractually forbidden from ever locking executives inside simulators again, was filming everything professionally. Final confirmation, Andrew announced. Satellite in stable orbit, mission complete. Applause erupted. Champagne appeared, a celebration well-deserved. But Robin and Tyson stayed where they were, wrapped around each other, gazing up at the sky where the fading trail still glimmered in the distance. Remember the first test? Tyson asked quietly. When everything almost blew up and you hated me with passion? I didn't hate you. I strongly disapproved of your existence. Semantics. He kissed her temple. And now? Now? Robin nestled closer. Now I strongly approve. Maybe even love. Occasionally. Occasionally. Frequently, she corrected, meeting his eyes. Constantly. Like gravity. Inevitable and essential. That was romantic. You're getting soft, Rocket Queen. Shut up and kiss me. And he did. There beneath the same sky that had witnessed their first kiss, beneath the stars that had always been her dream, with a rocket blazing in orbit above them, living proof that shared dreams fly higher. When they finally pulled apart, Tyson cupped her face with a tenderness that contrasted deliciously with all his teasing. Ready for the next project? He asked. The crude ship, the next impossible thing they'd make. Possible. Always. Robin threaded her fingers through his. As long as it's together. Wouldn't go anywhere without you. He pointed toward the stars. Not down here. Not up there. And they stayed like that. Two former rivals who had built not just rockets, but a life, a partnership, a love, their own constellation, shining forever. So what did you think of this story? Two rivals who swore never to mix work and emotion, and ended up defying the impossible. If this story kept you hooked, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. It truly helps Paths of Romance keep bringing stories that make hearts race. Comment below what surprised you the most, and don't forget to hype the video. The more hype, the more people discover this universe of romance and intensity.